Tonight on The GOAT Show.
It's a misnomer, right, that strippers aren't smart?
While she runs around with Kevin Gates.
We have gender-neutral single stalls. I did not, you're talking about gender-neutral, like all of them together. Wow.
They might get punched in the face.
In order for a woman to maintain her level of attraction, hypergamy must be satisfied.
But you will get a Saratoga sponsorship. Welcome to The GOAT Show, the show where we celebrate and debate all things great. My name is Ravine, aka ZiLLY. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Fresh and Deezy. Gentlemen, how you doing today?
Doing great, bro. How you doing?
I'm excited. I'm really excited because this is someone that from day one of starting the show, I wanted this guest to come on the show. We have interviewed many of the people in his circle, his network, the Men of Action program. And finally, the big kahuna is here. And so we will get to him in a second. But before we do, Fresh, what must the people, the goats at home, do?
You got to like, subscribe, hit the bell, drop a comment, and send it to everybody. I'm not going to make a list of who you send it to today. Send it to everybody.
Listen, I will make a list. I'll address, I'm going to address out there. I'm going to address the simps and the incels out there. Listen, I get it. I've been there, fellas, all right? But if you are feeling black-pilled, if you are feeling like your life is not where it should be, if you're feeling like rejected by women, men, or whatever, whoever you're into, definitely watch this show and definitely share it with your friends. So we will get to our guest in a second, but before we do, a word from our sponsor.
Blood beard, what a beard!
He's got a beard, a very special beard, a romantically inclined beard. Oh, what a beard, you can't resist it. Blonde beards.
Go to blondebeards.com and use code GOAT at checkout for 10% off your first order.
All right, we are back on the GOAT Show, and we have a goat of goats today, Mr. Micheal Sartain. He is the founder of the Men of Action program. It is a mentoring program for gentlemen who want to elevate their status, who want to do better in their social circles, who want to be able to network, and, hey, listen, get you a good looking woman or 2 or 3 or 5. I don't know, whatever you're into. This is what this gentleman specializes in. Micheal, welcome to the GOAT Show. How you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm glad to be on here. I like this, all this production. This is terrific. I always take notes when other people do podcasts. Like I started using Riverside because some of my friends were using it, and now I see StreamYard has some like new features, and I want to do that because that's one of the things we talk about is how to start a podcast, like why that is such an incredible brand building tool. But not only for that, some of my closest friends that I get the best advice from are people who come on, like Ty Lopez that comes on my podcast, Owen Cook, guys like that, they come on my podcast. People like that all the time, whoever I want to ask questions. And then a lot of times people you've never heard of, like Weston Corica, the guy makes 10 million a month on TikTok. He's been on my show, or guys like that. The actual podcast is like the best way to network with all those people.
Yeah, I mean, our intention with the podcast was just, kind of what you do with MOA. Like it was in your podcast, which we'll get into, is just to meet interesting people like yourself, but also just to learn, and so that's kind of what the GOAT is all about, meeting great people and learning from them. But before we get into all of that, there's a question we ask every guest who comes on the show. It's a standard thing that we do. And the question is, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Yeah, this is a messed up one, but probably the ability to go back in time and like change things. Seriously, like, do you guys understand this down move from 6,100 down to 5,000 in SPX and S&P 500? Do you understand if you had just bought puts, you take every dime, you had $10,000 in the bank and all you did was buy puts on margin, you would be a mega millionaire, like it was so quickly, and you could just do this over and over again. And you just, I know this sounds arrogant, okay, and I know a lot of you people. This is just the way I think. Money best belongs in my hands. Meaning, I'm the best steward of money, not the federal government, not anyone else. I'm the best steward of my money, and when I have my money, more people get hired. I pay my taxes. I'm the best place for money to go. And so like, that's just a mentality that I have. So that's probably what I would do. I'd go back there. And there's a couple other things. Obviously my father was killed by a drunk driver. Of making that not happen, certain things, being able to go back in time, I think would be an awesome one. I'm not saying I live a life full of regrets, but I feel like that would be, and then also the ability to go back and have a conversation with like Isaac Newton, have a conversation with Johannes Kepler, have a conversation with, Albert Einstein, something like that, James Clerk Maxwell. That would be an incredible thing to do as well. Turing, Alan Turing, that'd be awesome. To be able to go back and meet some of those geniuses would be another reason why I'd want to do that.
Imagine you could bring them back with you and do a podcast episode with those guys.
I would love to get out. Listen, I would love to be the guy that get Isaac Newton laid. He died a virgin. He was the smartest man who ever lived because he had Asperger's. I would love to be the guy who did that.
No way. He died a virgin, bro?
The guy invented differential calculus before he turned 25, but died a virgin. He wrote the formulas for gravity that we still use today to launch things into space, and he died a virgin. Yeah,
I think that has to say that women are the hardest thing to understand, bro.
All those brains, and he still didn't get any.
You guys saw Elon Musk? He was showing that one stat. It was like if you have an IQ over 140, you have a higher chance of being a virgin than if you have an IQ under 80.
That makes total sense, though.
Dumb guys like go to the gym, get big, and then they're like they don't have any fear of talking to women because they're just like not calibrated enough to care, and they'll get laid. And the hyper intelligent guy, he just thinks too much about it. He uses his mental horsepower too much, and it makes him worse with women.
Yeah, he uses deductive reasoning to talk himself out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get, because this is a big part of why I wanted to have you on the show, because I think a lot of people probably know you from just like this, the lifestyle. But man, your knowledge base is incredible, and I definitely we're going to get deep into that. But you did mention something before, and I know it's quite tragic, about your father. But I kind of want to just go back, and for somebody who doesn't know who you are, I just wanted to have them understand, kind of your superhero origin story. Where are you from originally? What was life like for you growing up? I recently listened to, in your program, which I'm part of. There's a module, and you talk about your high school years and how it was like this weird juxtaposition. So maybe you can tell us about that part of your life.
Yeah. So I grew up in East Dallas. So this is going way inside baseball here, but there's a great book on Dallas. If any of you guys are from Dallas or understand the place or want to know the place, it's a great book called The Accommodation by Jim Schutz. And one thing that happened in the 1960s, because there were accommodations made by black and white leaders back then. So there were no race riots. There were no protests that happened in the 1960s that happened in Dallas that you saw in Jackson, Mississippi, or in Atlanta, Georgia. And so because of that, Dallas is probably today the single most segregated city in the United States. It literally black people live here in Bonton in South Dallas, and white people live right here in Highland Park. It is, and when you go to those neighborhoods, you don't see any mixing whatsoever. And it's not a function of racism. It's just a function of history. That's what's happened. I grew up in East Dallas. So the neighborhood I grew up in was very affluent. And if you go just south of Swiss Avenue, there was nobody there who lived there who wasn't Mexican. My high school was like 85% Hispanic. My church was 100% white. So it was one of these situations where I saw both sides of it. And then I went to high school during the crack epidemic in the 1990s. And so gangster rap was starting, and several of my friends went to jail after high school, 10, 20, 30 years for selling crack cocaine. And so there was this massive juxtaposition where I would go to Wilshire Baptist Church in Lake Highlands, in that Lakewood area, and it was nothing but affluence. And then I would go to high school, and it was nothing but metal detectors. There was a shooting every year at my school. And it was very interesting to me, because a lot of the things that get reported now as being like these crazy school shootings, I'm telling you, there's a lot more school shootings than we even know about it. But a lot of them have to do with some kid just bringing a gun to school and not trying to get his ass whipped. Like that kind of stuff would happen all the time. And then whenever I would watch like 90210 or Saved by the Bell, I was like, that's what high school is like for people. I remember we went to Austin Westlake one time for Austin Westlake is super affluent school in Austin, Texas. And we went to the choir competition, or like a choir meeting out there, whatever it was called, the high school choir. And while we're out there, I went and looked through the school, and I was like, it looked like 90210. Like it looked like the lockers didn't have graffiti all over them. The place didn't smell like piss. Like it was so crazy, and it was so different. And it was so funny because I was like, that's what other people's high school experience was like. Like it was fun, because it wasn't fun for me at all. It was fucking dangerous as shit. Like that's all I remember. And so when I went to UT Austin, which is like almost entirely white school, I was just, it was such a shock for me that I ended up joining an all black fraternity. And when I was in college, and I did that. It was a Christian fraternity. I was like, oh, well, I still want to, there was a lot of temptation, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna join this Christian fraternity. So I did that for a while, and made a lot of, college was completely the opposite, because in college, especially at the time, UT Austin was the biggest school in the country. It's not anymore, but at the time, it had the biggest undergraduate student body in the country. I would go out, and no matter what I was into, somebody else was into it. Whatever video game I was into, whatever kind of music I was into. Back then, I used to listen to UGK and 3 6 Mafia. And if I wanted to go to a concert, I had 20, 30 friends who would be down to go to the concert too. And it was great. And it was just like it was the early moments of the internet. Internet kind of started for us in like 92, around 98, 99, we have Ethernet, and this thing started getting a little faster. And so, it's a very different experience for me. And then I graduated from college. And when I graduated, that was when the .com bubble happened. And then later on, when 9/11 happened, we had another economic crash. So we had two kind of dips in the stock market and higher unemployment during those two periods. And I couldn't find a job. I have an MIS degree from UT Austin, from the business school. And the number one employer of MIS degrees was Enron in Houston. And they obviously went out of business, and so did MCI WorldCom. And I forgot which one of their accounting firms, when it was with Arthur Andersen, I can't remember which one went under. One of the big five went under because of this whole debacle that happened. So the placement rate went from 98% out of the business school at UT Austin, it was one of the best business schools in the country, to 14% in the course of 1 year. I went to try to go sell video games at GameStop, and they wouldn't even hire me. I was overqualified. And so I had this girl, I was managing the bar. I was a head bar, bouncer at this nightclub at the time. And that's what I did through high school or through college. I was a bouncer. And this girl who was working behind the bar, I remember she had these really pretty blue eyes, and she was getting a PhD in forensic psychology from John Jay University. And she told me, she's like, I stripped to pay for my college. And you see that a lot in Austin. You see a lot of really smart girls who strip to make money. And because a college town like that.
It's a misnomer, right? That strippers aren't smart. I mean, strippers are enterprising, and yeah, I mean,
I think strippers, what it is, they require a lot of stimulus when you date them a lot of times. And they're really jaded and cynical about men. But yeah, some of them are dumb and some of them are smart. I have another friend, she has a PhD in psychology, and she strips at Sapphire right now. And she just couldn't make any money as a PhD, and she makes $200,000, $300,000 a year as a stripper. So that's why she does that. But so we're there, and she says, hey, listen, the strip club that I'm working at, Yellow Rose, I'm sorry, no, this would have been, no, this was Expose. It's like Expose on Congress Avenue. They need a DJ. So almost as a joke, I went there thinking I was going to get a job at GameStop. I go there, and I go for an hour. I get on the microphone. And at first I'm nervous as shit. There's these girls walking around naked the whole time. And after an hour, I get it. Whatever it is, it just clicks. They immediately offer me the job. And I end up working there for 3.5 years as a DJ at a strip club. During that time is when 9/11 happened. And so after 9/11, I went to a recruiter because two of my frat brothers in the black fraternity joined the military. One of them was a Navy pilot, and the other one was a Marine Corps navigator in an EA-6B. One was Marcus Cole was he flew a C-130 for the Navy, and then Antonio Edwards was a EA-6B navigator. And then I joined. I was the third guy in my frat to join, and I wanted to join the Marine Corps, and they didn't have any officer spots, so I went to the Air Force, and they said, well, I'd like to be an intel officer. And they're like, well, okay, we'll see if we can get you in there. And I test in the high 90 percentile for the nav pilot portion. And so they put me in the in navigator school. And then they say, once you go to navigator school, then we're going to ask you if you want to be a pilot. And I was like, I'm not spending 11 years in the military. I'll do 7 years in the military, but I'm not going to do 11 and a half years in the military. So I was a KC-135 navigator. And yeah, that's what I did for 7 years and 7 days. We just after 9/11 and just sitting there. I remember there were some strip club DJs. If you guys go to a strip club and you talk to the DJ, he might have been there for 25 years. It's just such a comfortable job. You get paid in cash. hot girls grab your ass all the fucking time. It's just such a comfortable job. And I remember doing it, just thinking I could just do this forever. I was making $45,000 a year cash in 1999. That is not bad money. If it's all cash in 1999, I had stacks of cash, and I'd go to the bank and like deposit it. And I remember just like on my it was wild back then. And so yeah, I mean that's where I got a lot of the stuff from, but like that's pretty much where I came from. But the juxtaposition between working in a strip club and dealing with girls with horribly bad habits, and then joining the military and dealing with highly anal retentive people who a lot of times cannot read the room and don't have the ability to like calibrate to what's going on around, those two worlds that I lived in. And I was actually doing some like sub promoting while I was in the military. Sorry to my unit. I don't, if you're just figuring this out 20 years later, but yeah, that I was doing that as well. I was actually the MC at a couple of nightclubs while I was still in the military. And so I did that for a while, and it was just one of these things where I just kind of saw what good leadership looks like, bad leadership looks like, accountability and a lack of accountability. And those were the kind of the opening pieces of information that I used to build Men of Action. And then later on, seeing the difference when the guy who buries the first woman he has sex with, he's a senior airman in the Air Force. He's 18 years old, gets married, and then watching the behavior of his wife, and then watching the behavior of the drug-riddled stripper, and then seeing how many fucking similarities there are. And like, actually, like they're both responding to the same stimulus. And I'm like, wait a second, something's wrong here. And then also all the stories that the church, Disney, and your parents tell you about, if I'm good to a woman, she's just going to be good to me back. And then I'm sitting here watching the world have like 6 girls fighting over the same loser. And I'm like, oh, that's not, something's broken here. This is not the way the world is being described to me, is not the way the world actually is. And so I wanted to get further and further into that. And one of the ironies is while I was at UT Austin, and I didn't know him at the time, Dr. David Buss, I think he was faculty at Harvard at the time, but he's the foremost evolutionary psychologist in the world. And now he runs the Buss Laboratories at UT Austin for evolutionary psychology. He's the #1 source in the world on evolutionary psychology when it comes to mating. And he's become a friend of mine. And all the things I started to notice about, hey, when a guy has a lot of girls who are after him, more girls want to fuck him. That thing is called mate choice copying in humans. I didn't know that. But Dr. Buss explained to me what these phenomenon would like. Why is it nice guys don't go, they get friend zoned? And he would go over exactly why these things are happening, but he would use statistical studies using thousands and thousands of people. Men do not care as much about women's money as women care about men, how much money a man can make. He did 37 cultures. He studied this, and every single one of them, they found that to be true. There's no exception to that, right? And so it's like, okay, so you start to learn what these, in every culture, women want men generally who are a little bit taller, stronger than them. They want men who make about 60% more than they make on average. Like, they go through all these studies, and I was like, oh, so now Dr. Buss is taking all this shit I learned out on the street, and then he's actually turned it into scientific studies that are backed by, these are university researchers who actually put these things together. And then once I had that, then I was like, okay, I have enough here to start a course to where if somebody joined and they were in their early 20s, or maybe somebody who just got out of divorce, I can catch them up to like what the world. I haven't even got into social media. Social media changed everything. I catch them up to where we are now. I mean, even skipped over the part. I used to work for Mystery, the pickup artist. I used to work for him as an approach coach for a while. And during that time period, back in 2008, we didn't have Instagram. And so like going up and talking to a hot girl at a bar, there were just more hot girls at bars. There were more bars with more girls than men. Now, if you guys notice, flake rates go up. There's 5 new nightclubs every week that get shut down in London. The nightlife scene in Los Angeles is garbage because women don't need to go out anymore. They get their validation through Patreon and Sex Panther and OnlyFans and Instagram and whatever. They're getting validation and actual money from sitting at home now. And so because of that, it's sucking up. And not to mention where you guys would go pick up girls at the mall. Who goes to the mall anymore? I have Amazon. Like, I don't need the mall. We go to a restaurant. Who needs a restaurant? I have Postmates. I'm going to sit in here in my sweatpants and watch TV and then go film myself on camera on my OnlyFans and make a bunch of money. I never need to leave my apartment. I got my 2 little fucking miniature poodles, and I don't ever have to leave.
You're right. I agree with you 100%, obviously. But yeah, it's that's one thing about with you that, and you mentioned that there because I'm from that pickup world on some level. I mean, I'm the generation that discovered the game when I was like just getting out of college or whatever. And
Speaking of which, Mystery's coming out to do a boot camp with me at the end of July, and then he's speaking
Get
at
outta here.
MOA Summit on August 2nd. Yeah. Mystery's been
Oh,
a good
wow.
friend of mine. I'm not a pickup artist. I actually kind of push guys away from pickup, but Mystery's been a good friend to me for a long time, so I'm excited to have him on.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I really like about doing the program with you, is that so much of it is not about like getting chicks. Like, how can I trick a chick to believe that I'm this like super cool dude so I can get her in bed, you know, or whatever. It's more about, you know, how do you build yourself? How do you build a life that is already exciting and already fulfilling, and then women notice that, and you become irresistible in that way, and then you may do certain things like do an event or do you know, certain things that you can do to be able to get people in your orbit that you want to have in your orbit. So
Yeah, a funnel.
yeah, definitely. I'd say anybody out there who's interested in Men of Action, that's really what you're going in for. Although, you know, there's been benefits. I'll tell you that much. There've been some benefits.
Your podcast is a funnel that funnels people in your life that you want. It's a funnel, right? And then all of a sudden, like for me, one of the things I started to do, this is probably 2007, I started doing this. I started finding the hottest girls I could, not hitting on them, but asking them, how did you meet the last 5 guys you had sex with? I've asked hundreds and hundreds of girls this, and the answers changed over the last, over the last 20 years. The answers went from, I met him at a bar and my homegirl introduced me, to now I met him online. I met him on Instagram. But the same one is a female introduced me. The one that I found to be more common than anything else is he knew a girlfriend of mine, and then she introduced me to him. And so what I realized from that is, like, if I had a ton of females who were introducing me to women, I would always be dating the hottest women. And sure enough, and this is not an original idea I came up with. If you watch a club promoter who dates really hot women, that's what that is. That's generally those girls he's dating, he didn't go approach those girls. What happened was he approached a different group of girls. They kind of saw value in him, and then they brought their friends along, and their friends are seeing pre-selection, make choice copying. They're seeing, oh, all these other girls are attracted to this guy, and now she is. And then you take a good girl who has all this stuff going for her. Why is she dating a scumbag club promoter? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Why is she doing that? And the reason why is because she sees other women attracted to him. I was like, what if we take that whole mechanism, and when we start commoditizing it? And that's basically what I did with my company. Is I started teaching guys, and you'll see, like, I mean, there's guys in my course who are everything short, brown, and from a small town, and they still date the hottest girls. You know, I have one client who's 4'11. He is 4'11. He is 4'11 and bangs hot chicks. He is 4'11, and he does not. And there are people right now, it's like, there's no fucking way. If you meet the guy, he's surrounded by so many women because he throws the best parties in Los Angeles. He throws the best parties in Los Angeles. That's how he ends up hooking up with hot chicks. And so why is it? Because other women see him, and then eventually it's like, I got to know what's going on. Why are all these girls around him like that? So, I mean, that's kind of what it is. What are these mechanisms that we can use to trigger attraction so that we can get past this? On dating apps, 80% of men are deemed to be below average attractiveness. How is it that I don't want to compete with Chad Thundercock on the fucking dating scene? This is not going to work for me. He's going to win every time. But if I can get her to know me, or if I can put her in a social situation where she gets to know my better attributes, then I have a chance against the guy who is just generally better looking, taller, richer, etc.
And I would say, I mean, honestly, the person that's able to have those qualities, to be able to create this network and you know, this whole thing around them, I find that that's actually you're in a better position than, say, the celebrity who only knows how to be a celebrity, or the rock star only knows how to play music, or whatever, because you're the epicenter of being able to create, you know, value arbitrage. And I do want to talk to you about there, you know, I want to save the best for when people join your program, but there's so many things you talk about that are so smart, with like value arbitrage and being, you know, content creation, those things. Can you maybe give us a brief overview of, like, for someone out there who wants to network, you know?
So you would think that all my clients were just guys who were struggling with women. A lot of my clients are really, really successful men who actually struggle with getting women to not chase after them for money. That's a big one. I have a friend of mine. He's a movie star. All of you guys would know who he is. I'm not going to say his name on here. He was on a big HBO TV show, and and he and I have been friends for a while. He's a comedian now, and he would ask me questions. He'd be like, "Hey, man, how do you get it to where these girls want to hang out with you, but it's not like about money or fame or whatever?" And I would explain to him, I was like, so, because you don't lead with money. It's like, it's okay to have the Rolex, but when you have the $2 million Richard Mille, you're only leading with money. It's like taking steroids. Once you start taking steroids, you have to always take steroids. And once you lead with money with a woman, you can't go back from that. You're always in provider frame. So one of the things I teach a lot of those guys, these guys are very successful. I have a few friends of mine. I have a friend of mine right now. He's worth $200 million, and it's the same situation. Like, it's constantly, because he was a producer of a big TV show. He lives out in Miami, and we'd have these conversations, and it was just like, women, it was impossible, because if you look up his net worth, it says he's worth $700 million. And so he would go on these dates with these girls, and I would try to explain to him, I was like, you need to have some, like, you need to push this thing as far away from that as possible. Act like you're poor, whatever it is you need to do, and then make her laugh uncontrollably so that you can create that lover frame. And then later she can discover that you have this money rather than the other way around. Because if you don't do that, you're going to keep ending up with these financial predators, like the Britney Renner types. She got PJ Washington pregnant, or PJ Washington got her pregnant, and then they had a kid together, and now he's kind of trapped. $200,000 a month or whatever is what he's got to pay. And it's
while she runs around with Kevin Gates.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the issue right there. And PJ Washington is one of my favorite players. And so, like, now you see the situation with the Britney Renner situation, and it's like that. And Britney Renner not only was not scorned for that, she wrote a book which I believe sold a lot of copies, and she was on Club Shay Shay. Do you know what makes one of the most disgusting things? If you want to understand our society, I'll tell you right now. PJ Washington is one of the best defenders in the NBA. He's a magnificent player who came from high school, who struggled early, and then turned himself into a magnificent player. And his deadbeat fucking baby mama, who tricked him into getting her pregnant and then got rid of, like, I think he filed for divorce like 2 weeks after the baby was born or some shit like that. She gets on Club Shay Shay. She gets on bigger podcasts and is more famous than him. That is how you want to know about how backwards our alignments are. He is actually the producer in this society, and this woman is the parasite. And she's the one, like, did you see Deion Sanders brought her in to Jackson State to explain to the players how these women are going to go, they're going to research you, and then they're going to figure out what you like, and then they're going to take your fucking money. And so, like, one of the new markets, one of the new arenas that I've gotten into recently is teaching wealthier men how to not be used as a financial target, how to use money as a funnel, but not as a crutch. And so that's been kind of a big thing for me. But what was the other question you had, ZiLLY, about?
Well, I actually did want to take a slight detour, because you basketball. All right, you're a huge basketball fan, and I did the Vegas immersion, and man, you put me through the paces. I was like, we were running all over the place. I was sweating. I was like, man, I have not run and done this in so long. But tell me first of all, where your love of basketball comes from, but also, what do you learn by doing that exercise where I had to do the shot a certain way, and you had us going through all that? Why did you put us through that, and what can you learn from the game of basketball?
So growing up, and maybe this is just selection bias, but the guys who I knew that were the best with girls were the guys who were really good basketball players. Guys who were really good basketball players, they just walked different. They walked like deadly athletes. They just had a different vibe to them. And I'd never seen a guy who was really good at basketball who was bad with women. So I started playing a lot of basketball. It's one of the things that kept me from getting really overweight when I was in military. Believe it or not, military was like the worst shape I've ever been, because I was an air crew, and we were flying, and they would just give you bags of chips, and you'd go up in the air and fly for 8 hours. And so one of the things that always helped me was basketball. It was like, when I didn't feel like lifting weights, I always felt like shooting threes. That was always a fun thing for me. So I started playing. And then when I started playing like pickup, one of the things I noticed is guys would put me on their team because I talk more. Screen. I would call out screens. I would say, guys, I'm gonna help out. I'm gonna guard this guy. He can't shoot. I'm gonna help on everything you guys do. Push him to the middle. And guys wanted to play basketball with me. That's also the same thing when I play paintball. I'm very similar. It's like, let's discuss strategy. Let's talk more. And so I started saying, okay, guys who are willing to communicate more. And then I also noticed body language. The guy who's staring at the ball while he's dribbling, you're going to take the ball. The guy who walks up to women with no confidence, she knows she's going to take the ball. She knows Just like, again, if you have any guy who's ever played basketball, he can look at a guy dribble in 3 seconds and tell whether or not the guy can handle the basketball very quickly. And the idea that you think women can't tell if you fuck, they can tell very quickly. This guy does not fuck. They can quickly see it. And so you're trying to hide this thing, but you can't. And so that, like, I started to see all these analogies. The other thing is like time and space. Like, the ball is on the ground. Do I need to ask permission for this guy to go get it? No, I'm going to go get the ball. This is mine. I don't care what you think. I'm going to go take this thing that's in front of me. Whereas I see a lot of dudes, like, I'll watch them and I'm like, yo, man, this dude just fucking disrespected you in front of your girl. You need to say something, do something. Like, I've said this before. Okay. You ready? You want a clip that's going to get everybody in trouble? I'll tell you this right now. If you're my girl, and a dude comes and grabs your ass, don't stop me. Don't push me back. Let me hit this motherfucker. Don't get in my way. Because if you don't, I promise you, I know what will happen. You let a guy come up and grope your girl and you don't do anything about it, she'll tell you everything is fine and she will be dating that other dude in like 3 weeks. And I have 50 examples of this. If it, like, some dude comes and like, just I don't care what happens. I told my girlfriend, I was like, hey, listen, if some guy comes up and like tries to make out with you, don't stop me. Don't push me. Don't tell me to calm down. Let me knock this motherfucker out and get out of my way. There are times if somebody puts their hands on my mother, don't tell me violence is not called for. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so that's the thing. It's like we've gotten to this point where it's like you see those have you seen those pictures where Jason Momoa is hugging the girl and he's like pushing the boyfriend away? Have you guys seen those?
I don't give a fuck if it's Jason Momoa. I would punch him in his shit.
Yeah, but here, look, what are we looking at? What we're looking at is there's a level of wokeness and progressivism that you're supposed. It's not that it's funny that he's taking the girl. It's that you're supposed to be okay with other guys touching your girl. Why are you so insecure, bro? Why does that bother you, bro? No, just let him touch your girl. And because it's not that Jason Momoa is trying to alpha this guy. It's that Jason Momoa is so infected with a woke mind virus that he believes that's how the world works. He's supposed to let Chris Hemsworth come and just grab his girl's ass. That's so we're just bros. Why are you so insecure, bro? That's her agency. Respect her agency. Like, no. If you are a girl, I'm going to say this right now. If this offends you, question your own logic and reasoning, okay? If I am dating a woman, I don't expect other men to not hit on her. I have dated some of those beautiful women in the world. I'm shocked if they don't hit on her. If I'm dating another woman, it is her job to protect her mouth, her boobs, her vagina, and her butthole from other dudes touching them. That's the thing. She is supposed to have that boundary around her physically and around our relationship. And if she does not take that responsibility, that's cool. She's just not my girl. She's just for the streets. It's fine. It's not an insult to be for the streets. A lot of girls want to be for the streets. It's totally fine. But she's not for me. She's not going to be my girl. If you're my girlfriend, that's being an executive at my company. You have to go through a hiring process to get to that. If you're some girl who's fine as shit, but you have borderline personality disorder and you just let every guy just message you all the time, that's cool. We can be friends. I'd love to have you on my podcast, but you're not my girl. That's the difference. And so when you see this, like, basic things like, hey, yo, it's actually not okay for your girl to be messaging other dudes while she's dating you. That doesn't make you insecure. It doesn't. And here's the big one, right? Project Pat said a long time ago, can't turn a hoe into a housewife, right? And women are like offended by that. It's like, that's crazy. It's like, that doesn't. And then the GSS comes out with a survey of 8,000 women and finds out that women who have so they surveyed the women who cheated in a relationship and women who did not cheat in a relationship. The women who cheated in a relationship had 230% more sexual partners before they were married than the women who didn't. 230% more, which means I now have data showing you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Now I am public enemy number one, because you can't really argue. This wasn't my opinion. I can prove to you now that you can't turn a hoe into a housewife.
Dude, the other thing is that, like, they condition you if you're a man, and like us, we're getting older, the technology's better, we're in the prime of our lives, and if we want to date a 20-year-old, all of a sudden, oh, you're a creep. There's something weird about that.
But there's nothing wrong with her. Yeah, she's old enough. She's old enough to vote for Kamala Harris, but not old enough to date me. Got it. I understand now. Got it. Thanks. She's old enough to enlist in the army, but not old enough to date me because she's not smart. Because I'm taking advantage of her. Like, no, bro, I'm 47 years old, and the last 3 girls I've dated were all under 25, and they all chose me. It was not me going out trying to find a 25-year-old. It was not. My ex-girlfriend was 20 years old from Frog Level, Arkansas. That's where I met her at a bikini pageant. She was a top 10 finalist, and then she just like, nope, you're the one. And I was like, okay, you're the one too. And then we decided to be together. It wasn't like, I didn't look at her credit score. She didn't even know what a podcast was. She barely had internet out there. And like, so when we started dating, it was one of these things where it's like, people are like, I can't believe Michael's with a 21-year-old girl. That's crazy. It's like, no, she likes the Razorbacks and I like the Longhorns. We like SEC football. We like rescuing animals together. And we both really like trap music. We got along very well. But like, people were like, well, no, Michael must have groomed her. No, I didn't. I paid for her to go to school.
Well, here's the biggest one though, Michael. The biggest one is, out of all those things, you were both fucking adults, bro. That's all that matters. Are you an adult? That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, evolutionarily, though, people hate to hear that, but evolutionarily, that's correct, right? I mean, older man, younger woman, older man has resources, and I don't know. I mean,
I don't know how dark you want to go in this, but here's the biggest one evolutionarily. Ready?
we talk wild shit all the time, so by all means.
Okay, ready? So if you have a woman who's over 35, it's considered a geriatric pregnancy, and the likelihood of there being complications in the pregnancy are much higher over the age of 35. But part of the reason why is because women over the age of 35 are almost exclusively having children with men who are older than them. So both parties are over the age of 35. When men over the age of 35 have children with women under the age of 25, those women have the ability to repair a broken DNA. Look it up if you don't believe me. Tell me I'm a misogynist and a bigot. Look it up if you don't believe me. So younger women have the ability to repair older men's DNA and have children without complication when these women are under the age of 25. And the opposite isn't true. Older women and younger men, these younger men don't have the ability. They have some ability, but not as much ability. It is ultimate biological bigotry. Absolute. Like, it is one of these things where not only can older men, like, is this age appropriate nonsense just nonsense? Even with biology, it's, if you're an older man, it's better for you. It's healthier for your child to have a baby with someone who's younger. I mean, people like, and you can't argue with this, dude. There is so much data supporting this. And so when I bring this up, it's very aggravating to a lot of people because you're not arguing me anymore. You're debating settled science. And so that's why people have a lot of problems with it. That's why a lot of people don't want me on their podcast, is because I bring up things like this. Like, it's like, oh man,
The reason they don't want you on the podcast, in my opinion, is that you have, so and I'm just gonna assume, but your entire life, so from getting out of college and being a strip club DJ, to being in the military, to being in Vegas, and I don't know when that, maybe you can tell me when that started, but you have seen with your own eyes I guess, how would you describe it? The actual environment. You're not talking in theory. You have seen with your own eyes in the most hyper, like, crazy.
Podcasters are like academics, right? They know things in study, but like in theory, this may make sense, but in practice, not so much.
I used to tell Dr. Buss, I was like, you're the theoretical physicist and I'm the experimental physicist. Like, I go out there, I'm out here in these streets and I'm actually doing this stuff. So two things I looked at were successful relationships that lasted like more than 10 years, where they had a kid and these people were happy together after 10 years. I started studying that. And then I started looking at like different types of women and like whether or not they were able to maintain a relationship. And the number one correlation I found was, how much stimulus does a woman need outside the relationship? There's one other problem, and I meant to bring this up. If you guys were to go on right now, I wish somebody would do this as an experiment. If you were to go right now and start making content on TikTok that just panders to women, it's not that your standards are too high, honey. It's that he's broken and he's trying to use you. Just make content. Derek Jackson, Chris GQ Perry, Justin Baldoni, Will Hitchens. There's these guys. All they do is pander to women. Every one of their videos. They have thousands of them. These videos are it's always the men's fault. Women, know your worth. You're the prize. He's a piece of trash. And these are men saying this to men. But of course, men aren't listening. It's only women that are listening to this. if you make content like this, dude, these guys are getting millions of likes. And I don't mean that facetiously or exaggerating.
All right, fresh and Deezy. Michael just told us we got to switch the program up.
You remember what Tupac said? You don't make the music for the guys. You make the music for the bitches, and the guys will buy the music for them.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. Like, listening, these guys are saying things that are like objectively false. Like, no, women's pickiness is part of the reason why we're in the dating crisis we're in right now. Like, and they're like, it's not because women are picky. Yeah, it is. It is because women are picky, right? And so when I see that, and then these guys, they're rewarded with like a low end 300,000 views a video, low end. And I'm like, how this content is garbage. Like, how is this happening? And then you realize there's a group of women that wanted to hear this. There's a group of women that legitimately broke up with their boyfriend when he did nothing wrong, and they were told they were crazy. And now this guy is telling you, no, honey, you're not crazy. You had a dream he cheated. You should have left him. I'm not kidding. Guys, look it up. Chris GQ Perry has a video where he literally says women can tell in their dreams when you're cheating on them. What? Bro, we used to do that in the 1950s. We used to lock people up based on the color of their skin and be like, I had a dream that black person was guilty. That's how we convicted people back then. That's the level of stupidity. This guy is literally saying you're catching your boyfriend from cheating from a dream. And then I asked the girls at the table, because my show was like, how many of you guys believe you caught your boyfriend cheating from a dream? And like half of them rose their hand, and I was like, none of you caught your boyfriends. Do you guys not hear what I said? None of you caught your boyfriends cheating from a dream. You caught your boyfriends cheating because of reason, accountability, and deduction. That's how you catch him cheating. And then I realized some of these women are the problem. They literally broke up with their boyfriends who weren't cheating. And they did so because they had a fucking dream about it. And again, if you make that kind of content where you justify that nonsensical behavior, you are rewarded with millions of views on social media right now. It's not just who they ban, it's who they promote. And it is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And these guys are all the same. They're all looking off to the side, reading a script while they're talking or whatever. And it's like, clearly the script is written by a woman, and they're just like reading. It's like, you are the prize, girl. It's like, the men who, you're a single mother. The men who date you have to be the most special men in the world. It's like, no, bitch, I'm not. If you want to date a single mom, there's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely fine. But I'm not worse than you because I don't. That doesn't make me worse than you. And like, I just watch this content and I'm like, how is he getting away with this shit? But then I realize it's because the algorithm wants to reward this kind of content. And so that's one of the most dangerous parts of this. It's not just that the right message or the correct message or the factual message is being pushed down. It's that the wrong message is being rewarded. That show Adolescence, did you guys see on Netflix, number one show on Netflix? The show is about an upper middle class Anglo child who watches manosphere content and then becomes violent and stabs a girl. Guys, I went and did the research. The number of upper middle class Anglo children who watch manosphere content and stab someone in the UK is 0. That never happened one time. And yet now they're trying to get legislation passed in the UK based on that show about something that never happened. Do you guys understand how insane this is? Why are they doing this? Because in the United Kingdom, since 2003, I think they've arrested over 5,000 people for violating like censorship laws. So for hate speech. And so they need to justify these incredibly unpopular laws. And the way they do it is by producing nonsense like this TV show that's basically, if your child watches this content, he's going to become violent. Even though William Costello, who's an Irish citizen at the University of Texas at Austin, did a study on incels and shown that they were not violent. All the porn in video games does not make you violent. It sedates you. Okay, they weren't violent. So the idea that what happened is this kid would be playing Call of Duty, probably. This kid might be looking at porn. The idea that this kid is going to stab some chick is nonsense. But why are they doing that? Because they need to justify their controls over censorship. Because when you can control what words people say, now you can ban people for supporting one political candidate over another. You take control of the narrative online, and now you have the right to do so. But if you make freedom of speech laws like we're trying to do in this country, where basically if you take my account away, you have to tell me why. I don't know if you saw Donald Trump give the speech about that. He's going to try to pass legislation to say that there has to be an appeal process if they take your account away. when you do that, now you can no longer control the narrative as a social media company or as a government. And so that's why that kind of propaganda is so incredibly important for people. And so that's one of the things that the thing that show, Adolescence, terrific show, like actual tremendous acting. But I honestly think when Brad Pitt and when Stephen Graham came up with the show, or I can't remember the other guy's name, Thorne, when they came up with the show, I think they came up with it with a certain idea, and then they're like, let's sprinkle in manosphere in there so we can get a little wokeness in there so that we can get some more funding for it, or get the right people to watch it, or piss people off like me and then get me to talk about it. I think that's why they did that. But the idea that somebody watched Andrew Tate and that caused them to become violent, there are zero examples of this. And so because of that, that's why I think something like that, like, again, is it fiction? That's fine, but those names aren't fictional. You used real names. And so that's something I definitely have a problem with.
Well, I guess that's a good question, because it seems like, we had this previous election, and from what I saw, men came out in droves and voted for Donald Trump, and it seems like there may be a sea change happening in the culture towards a return to traditional masculinity. And what's your feeling on just the concept of masculinity, what it means to be? Because I don't even know what traditional masculine necessarily means. Like, are there certain qualities that you think a man needs to possess to be considered a masculine man?
So this is the thing. I come from the evolutionary psychology side of this space. So not really. So it's more description than prescription. If you're a masculine dude and you fuck other dudes, I'm not telling you you're not. I just, like, to me, I'm not that way. Like, what I'm saying is, like I don't, you understand? Like, it's not my job to, if I am a true libertarian, then I don't care what you do in your bedroom. I truly can't. I'm not going to have a double standard when it comes to that. I am going to care that if I have a daughter and she wants to wrestle, that you put boys to wrestle against her. I am going to care about that, because that's outside of my bedroom. That I'm going to care about. I am going to care if I have a 12-year-old daughter and then a man who claims that he transitions to have a woman but still has a penis walks into the bathroom with her. I do care about that. That I do care about. That's outside of my bedroom. That's fine.
Real quick, Michael, it's me and Fresh, when I was visiting him in Toronto, which is where he's at, we actually did go to the mall, and they had a general, like, what was it, Fresh? They had no gender bathrooms.
It's gender neutral bathrooms, bro.
Oh no, we have them. We have those here too. Yeah, we have those here all over the place. Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. We were walking in, and all of a sudden I see a little girl come out. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? Did I see the wrong thing here? And it's like, no, it's just like there's literally, you go in and there's like adult men, and then there's like some little girl comes out. I'm like, this is fucked up. Like, how is this even a thing that you can even do?
We have gender neutral single stalls. I did not, you're talking about gender neutral, like all of them together. Wow.
No, this is a whole
bathroom, man. It's crazy.
I have seen that at nightclubs where it's like one place where men and women are washing their hands, and then there's stalls that you can go in and do cocaine. Like, I've seen that before, right? And then you take your girlfriend in there with you. It's like, hey, we want our big spenders to have a good time. Apparently, again, I'm not condoning this. I'm just telling you.
There's lots of room with shelves to like place your bags and things like that.
Yeah, I definitely have seen that before, and it's the unisex thing. Again, going back to what I said before, no problem with if you want to transition from a man to a woman. I'm not here to stop you. As a libertarian, I'm not going to tell you you can't do that. What I am going to tell you, though, is that when you infringe on my rights of life or liberty and pursuit of happiness, or tell me that I need to be canceled and have my First Amendment rights suspended because I accidentally misgendered you, no. That's not okay. I don't care. I think it's horrible. If I had a child, let's just say, one of my children married someone of a different race, and then they had a child of mixed race, and someone was calling my child names, that would definitely bother me a lot. Okay. And they weren't professing harm. They're just calling him names. That would bother me a lot. They shouldn't go to jail, though. Sorry. They shouldn't go to jail.
They might get punched in the face.
They might get punched in the face. I might smack them. Man, I'm telling you, back in Texas, growing up in the 90s, dudes would get in fights and no one would press charges. You would just come back the next day, get your credit card, and everybody would shake hands, and it was fine. It was fine. It was like, we both understood. I don't understand why we had to take that out of society and just act like, oh my God, he pushed me, I need to sue. Like, where did this come from? This is fucking crazy to me. But go back to what I said before. In society like this, when you have you're teaching people, not only you're not allowing people to learn the truth. You're asking a question before about masculinity. Ready?
Well, yeah, because so let me just preface this, because in the last 20 years, the big thing that's come into the picture in relationships entirely, and something that you address uniquely, in my opinion, is social media. And I mean, it seems like it's obvious. Like social media is here, and it's opening up this whole world. Like Instagram is this world that's opened up to both men and women. And then on the flip side, maybe for men, it's the whole OnlyFans sort of cultural thing. So the question becomes, okay, is they want to convince you that masculinity has to evolve in a certain direction, which is really feminizing, because of this new world we're in. So I guess my question to you is,
men are basically defective women. Men are defective women. Yeah, that's how therapy treats men today. Men are defective women. Women have no problem expressing their emotions. Men need to be more woman-like to be healthier. That's the way modern therapy works today. Below the age of 30, 95% of therapists are women. Men are not getting into that field at all. Yeah.
so this idea of the sensitive, because that's what I grew up with. Oh, he's a strong man, but he's also a sensitive man. He's sensitive to my emotions. Is there, where do you draw the line at? I guess the question would be toxicity, right? On the one hand, I can understand. It's like, I'm a man. If I'm going through some shit, I got to have a way to deal with that shit, and that's smart and healthy and is going to help me, be a better man. Which I think is different than, I just need to be a more sensitive guy. So how do you distinguish those two worlds?
Yeah, look up behavioral activation therapy. It's a type of treatment where men actually go off and do things and accomplish things, and it causes them to have a dopamine rush that gets them through depression. And so it's different because we as men have more testosterone, about 17 times as much testosterone as women do. So because of that, the way our baseline to reset, to get over a depression or a melancholy feeling, is to actually hit 5 3-pointers in a row, get a new bench press max, go up and talk to a beautiful woman, jump out of an airplane. For women, it's different. Their testosterone is 1/17 as much as ours, and they have more estrogen than men do. And so because of that, where do they get to their dopamine release? Talking about their feelings, expressing things that were going on. They get talking to their friends, crying. Those are things that they need. There's nothing wrong with women being more sensitive and men being less. But what's happened, unfortunately, is this gender neutral bathroom you're talking about has also become a gender neutral therapy society where men are treated like defective women, and they're given the same treatments that women are. I absolutely, if I had a female friend and she was going through a breakup, I would tell her, go out with your friends, drink, have a good time, talk about your feelings, cry, and get it out with. If I had a guy who was doing that, I'd be like, build a business, bro. Let's get to 2 or 3 books a week. Okay. From now on, no more music. We're getting on 75 hard. We're changing your diet. We're doing 2 workouts per day. For him, I'm telling him something different. If you want to talk to me about how it feels, we can talk every once in a while, but I don't need you to cry. I don't need you to cry. The problem is, like, here's the best way to explain it. When I love someone, I solve problems for them. When I love someone, I solve problems for them. When a woman loves someone, she could do that too, but most of the time she's going to listen to them. That's fine to just listen to them and let them, express their feelings. But if I love you, I'm going to solve problems for them. I don't have to cry to solve problems for you. I don't have to express undying love. And because I don't do that doesn't mean that I'm any less healthy than you are. I just choose to express myself in a different way than you do. And that's okay. It's just therapists today don't recognize that. They also don't recognize that men always have a burden of performance. Some women have a burden of performance. I had 2 female squadron commanders when I was in the Air Force. They had a burden of performance, but some women don't have a burden of performance. They wake up, they drink coffee, they take care of the kids. There's no metric where they're like, as long as their kids don't kill themselves, there's no metric by which they were judged on a day-to-day basis. By the way, same thing with therapists. Therapists are not judged on a metric either. You notice how marriage therapists keeping marriages together, there's no data on this shit. None. Look it up. There's no data because they're not there. Because if you judged marriage therapy based as like an actual science, you would realize it's almost fucking worthless. But you can't do that because so like that's essentially what happens. But some women don't have a burden of performance. Some women are so beautiful, they have no burden of performance at all. But there's no such thing as a man who, unless you're born incredibly good looking or wealthy, almost every man has a burden of performance. If your therapist doesn't recognize this, it's like, hey, I really got to figure out a way to get more work done or I'm going to get fired. And your therapist is like, meditate, just recognize that you're enough. Just believe in yourself. If that's what your therapist is telling you, fire that motherfucker. No, I have to go to work even when I don't feel like it because I'm a man. You want to know what masculinity is? It is the willingness to sacrifice for your tribe, your group of people. Masculinity is the ultimate form of masculinity is willing to die for your tribe. That is the ultimate form of masculinity. That and solving problems for other people and accomplishing goals with others. To me, that's what masculinity is. Okay. That's what it is. That's just my opinion. That's not the evolutionary psychologist talking. That's just my opinion. And so when you teach people this, then it comes off as toxically masculine. The American Psychological Association in 2019 said that traditional masculinity was deemed harmful, and specifically they mentioned stoicism. So when these guys come to my house is on fire, my family's in there. When they come to rescue my family, do I want them crying? Do I need the firefighters to come up to me and express to me what a rough day they had? Or do I want these motherfuckers to look like psychopaths with axes, break down the door and go rescue my family? No, stoicism is what we need to build society, to protect ourselves. It was stoic, violent men who were extremely violent, who were willing to carve out this little cubby hole of freedom that we have so that we could have these ridiculous discussions about whether or not it's okay for a man to wrestle my daughter in high school wrestling. We have these absurd discussions because of the safety created by violent men who came before you, and they were stoic. You have the ability to, the American Psychological Association has the ability to spread its stupidity because of the fact that an internet was created by stoic men who are willing to solve problems using math, reason, logic, and deduction, not because of the DARPA net and the internet were not created because of someone's emotions. And so that's the point I'm trying to make. Society is based on stoicism, logic, reason, and accountability. Why are we punishing people for acting that way? That is madness. And yet at the same time, when a woman, like seriously, if a woman comes to me and says she believes in astrology, you can't work with me. I have no point. There's no reason for you to work.
Wait, it doesn't matter that I'm a Leo, man. I'm a Leo.
Bro, you're looking at stars that were there 2,000 years ago, brother. They're not even where they are anymore.
No, you're looking at stars that were there 60. You're looking at stars that were there 60 million years ago.
The stars determine that I'm stubborn, that I'm loyal.
No, you determine that.
I am being told that because of a patriarchy, this is why women don't flourish in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM fields. Yet, if you ask those same women, do you believe in astrology? And they say yes, how do you want me to reward you in physics if you believe in astrology? That doesn't make any sense. You believe in energies. 80% of Dr. Joe Dispenza's of his audience is female. Of course it is, because he sells hokum nonsense. That's the reason why. If you keep believing in the 5 love languages, no science behind it. If you keep believing in this nonsense, why would I ever hire you for a science, technology, engineering, or mathematics job? You don't understand logic and reason. If you believe this, then what am I supposed to do with you? I can't turn over my engineering project to someone who doesn't understand basic physics and actually thinks that Mercury in retrograde has something to do with anything. What am I supposed to do? You understand?
I got it, man. I got it.
That's the reason why we are the way we are. Don't like, I want to take women more seriously. I have several women that work with me. I want to take women more seriously, but don't ask me to take you more seriously if you believe in astrology. And the number of women that believe in astrology is like 3.5 times as many as men do. It's madness. So like that's where we are as a society. And it's like we want to sit there and promote a show like Adolescence, which talks about something that never happened, but we don't de-promote. It's like, again, if I was a physicist and I was trying to bring on a new research assistant and I found out he was a flat earther, he can't work for me. It's not a function of hatred. He just can't work for me because he doesn't understand physics. How do we not grasp this concept? For some reason we don't. And then we talk about gender equality. Well, that's part of the reason why. That's where we get to this function of nonsense.
I want to go on a quick tangent on this, man, because you're a science guy. You're and physics, I think, was your first love, and I think part of you being in the Air Force, right, was like, I think those things kind of tie in together. Where does that come from? Were you always just into science? Like, what's the story with that?
The reason why I got into astronomy specifically was because you have to learn geology, you have to learn thermodynamics, you have to learn biology, you have to learn Newtonian physics, you have to learn all these different things in order to understand astronomy. And so I got into astronomy because it gave me a little bit of knowledge of all those different things. It's also the reason why I got into stock option trading. The reason why I trade stock options is because in finance, if you understand stock options, you understand fixed income, you understand interest rates, you understand commodities, you understand the underlying options, you understand volume, bid-ask spread. You understand liquidity, you understand crypto, you have to understand all of it if you do derivative stock options. So that's why, like, I recommend, if people want to get into sciences, I start with astronomy, because you have to learn all the different sciences to get into astronomy. And if you want to get into psychology, I recommend evolutionary psychology, because as Dr. Buss said on my show, all psychology is an evolutionary psychology. If you want to get into finance, I recommend people get into derivatives, because you have to learn all the different disciplines inside of finance.
Gotcha. And something just because of the, you know, you being the Air Force, and this is something that I think about all the time now, that you brought up in your conversations, the idea of the checklist, the idea of, so can you explain, like on a when you're flying a plane or whatever, what you were doing, you have to have a checklist, and it has to be like every single time you are on the checklist, doing the checklist. I mean, is that something that you recommend to people to be able to, you know, get a lot more done, excel in whatever field they're in?
So the checklist thing is, when we're in your air crew, one of the things you have to do as air crew is you have to have the checklist strapped to your leg, and you have to follow the checklist, even though you have it memorized. In fact, if you are air crew, often a requirement is to memorize the checklist. And so you do so. But even though I know exactly what I'm doing, I still refer to the checklist. So I made a checklist for I'm going on a trip. I made a checklist for I'm going on a date. I made a checklist for everything in my life. I made these different checklists, and I ordered them in the way that I would for like take off. This is how I turn the engine on, and then this is what I set the panels to, and then this is the pre-flight checklist that I have to do to make sure that the ailerons work and the vertical stabilizer, like all the things that we have to do. Even when you fly every day, you still have to do all of those things, because the one time you don't do it and you miss it, there's no screw in the vertical stabilizer, then you die. That's how it works. That little one screw in the back of the airplane that causes the plane to go up and down, if that comes apart, there's no way with the front end ailerons on the wings for you to keep the pitch on the aircraft, and then you die. That's the way it works. And so you can try to use the throttle to deal with it somewhat, but you're dead after that. And so that's why I try to explain to people is that we do the same thing, but our whole life. Have you guys ever? So I have this thing. Every time I go on a trip, almost every time I forget one thing. It's a toothbrush. It's a power supply for my MacBook. There's always one thing. Whatever that one thing is I forgot on the last trip, I put it at the top of my checklist. I always forget black socks to go with my suit. There's always weird things, these little weird things. I have these shirt stays that pull my shirt down whenever I wear a suit. I have to remember these things. So I put them on a checklist and make sure they're all there. Whenever I go film and I do interviews, I was like, dude, did I put the cage on the A7S3? Do I have the right lens on there? Did I clean the lens? All this kind of stuff. Are the batteries charged? I have a whole procedure that I go through. And because of that, I'm one of the most, if you work with me, I'm one of the most dependable human beings you will ever meet in your entire life. But it's not because I'm obsessed with dependability. It's because I use checklists for every single thing. So I use checklists and alarms. The module you're referring to in Men of Action is called checklists and alarms. I set alarms for everything I'm doing, an alarm that go off right now for this 2 p.m. GOAT podcast. And I have checklists for all the things that need to happen. I need my fill light, my key light, and my edge light to be on, my background to be set up, all this kind of stuff. I got to test the audio. There's a checklist that I go through for all these different things. And you'll find that specifically aviators and military operators, especially in the special ops community, they're going to follow a checklist no matter how experienced they are in their particular field. And those are the best operators, because it takes the decision-making process and the memory process out of there, because you only have so much brain power per day. So why am I using my brain power to remember all the things I got to take with me to a job? Instead, use a checklist and just get it done that way.
Right. Man, there's so much, God. And I just want to say, for anybody who's watching, this is the kind of stuff you're going to learn, because I mean, you're going to learn about women, all this stuff. I mean, for sure. I mean, the number one thing I learned the hard way, and you told me not to do it when in the convos, and I did it anyway, was, and this is contrary to pickup artists, right, is the idea of intent. The idea that which is, it's hard. That's a hard deprogram for me, because like
it is. It's very difficult. Every fiber of your being wants to show her intent. But the thing is, she hasn't done anything to earn it, and you're just basically displaying your lower value than her by doing it.
There's so many little things like that are impressive. I want to talk about Instagram, okay? Because the reason I want to bring this up is I have been trying to tell just the normal homies, the ones who are not an MOA. The MOA guys know, but my normal homies, I'm like, guys, you got to get on Instagram. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's like for your business or whatever. You have to get on Instagram, and you have to set your fucking Instagram up. Damn it, do it now. And they will not listen to me, bro. I don't know what I need to do to convince them. So can you speak on the impact of Instagram and how you have to have one and you need to promote it?
Yeah. So the thing is, all the conclusions I came to, I worked from the women backwards. So I was like, who are girls that I know that have been married for 10 years, extremely beautiful? And then I would ask them all these questions about how they meet people. So either one of two, if you want to know, right, a girl right now who's very, very attractive, there's two general ways she meets someone. One is a female friend introduced her, and the other one is that she saw the guy on Instagram. And if the female friend introduced her, the first thing she does is check his Instagram. So the Instagram, you have to think about, like, if you're let's just say you're an attorney, you give someone your card and then they come to your office. When they come to your office, let's just imagine they come to your office like, oh, sorry, we don't have a chair for you to sit in. What? It's weird. You look over to the left and one of the walls in the office is just missing and it's just dead air and it just goes, there's no window, there's nothing. Okay. You try to get coffee, but like there's no cup. They give you coffee in a solo cup. There's like an incompleteness to the office. Does that make sense? What would you think of that attorney if you went to go see him and there's an incompleteness to his office? That's what Instagram is. Instagram is your office. When the girl comes and wants to investigate you, she needs to see, but the Instagram needs to be complete, meaning there needs to be photos, good photos that show different aspects of your life that make you seem like you're not scary, that you're not someone who's a high risk to them, that shows that other women approve of you. And so the easiest way to do this is through showing it on social media, and you can take it with you when you travel, and it also works for you while you sleep. So she goes and checks your Instagram and she sees, okay, oh, this girl I like follows you, this girl I like follows you, this girl I'm friends with followed you. Oh my God, that girl's super hot. Wait, that's what his ex-girlfriend looked like? Holy shit, she's hotter than me. Now what happens is your SMV, when you go up and talk to her and you show intent, your social sexual market value in her eyes is beneath hers. And so because of that, because of the way hypergamy works, she needs someone who has an SMV that's higher than hers for her to feel attraction, but she believes that your SMV is lower than hers. But you use your social media to show the perceived status that other people have of you, and now it shows that your SMV is higher than hers. Now she automatically feels attraction. These are not debatable topics. Hypergamy is not debatable anymore. We know that this is the case. We also know that social media can show higher status while you sleep. It can show passive. With low perceived effort, it can show passively how much status you have. So even if you in person are phenomenal, you're incredibly good looking, you're super funny, and you don't have trouble with women when you go out and see them in person, the problem is the number of women you see in person decreases every year because of social media. And on social media, it allows you to scale to where your image can be seen by hundreds of thousands of women in the course of a month, whereas you can't do, no matter how much cold approach you do, you can't match even 1/100,000th of what you can achieve by using social media. So it's just function is like, again, if I were to go to a company, I'm trying to think of a company right now. I'm a company that, let's say, sells flowers. And I was like, hey, listen, do it the old fashioned way. Email lists, door to door. Don't use social media to sell flowers. If like your sister had a flower shop and her agent was telling her, her manager was telling, yeah, don't use social media, you would look at your sister and be like, that dude's a fucking idiot. Of course you have to use social media to market yourself. Why is it that we don't seem to be offended whatsoever when I say I use social media to advertise my accounting practice, my law practice, my flower shop, my plumbing agency, whatever, my plumbers union, whatever, my plumbing company, my roofing company, whatever it is. Whenever we want to promote those things, we use social media, and there's no one's offended by that because it makes sense. I get the most exposure with the least amount of effort. But for some reason, when I tell men over the age of 40 to do this, they're like, no, that's gay. I don't want to use social media. Bro, I'm a 47-year-old retired military officer who used to work in counterintelligence. Do you think I want to use social media? Fuck no. But I do it because it works. I do it because it works. Get over your ego. If you understand also the idea of a global marketplace, we saw how Amazon like closed down all these mom and pop shops. We saw what the globalization of commerce did. It took a bunch of mom and pop shops. It took a distribution of retailers, and it molded them in, amalgamated them into one big one, Amazon, Walmart, whatever it is, TikTok shop, whatever it is. But for some reason, we didn't think the same thing was going to happen for dating. It's like the guy who actually understands Instagram doesn't get 10% more engagement from women than you. He gets 100 million% more engagement than you do. Okay, and that's the part you don't understand. And so while I'm not telling you that as a man you don't have personal self-worth and you're not a cool dude or whatever, it's awesome. All your hobbies are not, it wouldn't be attractive to women. They probably would be. It's just the problem with me is even if I'm a fucking out of shape loser, I'm going to be exposed to so many more women than you are that I'm just going to do better than you are. For some reason in sales, we don't have this problem, but for when we talk to dating, men have this massive ego and they don't want to do it. You have to be on social media because it shows low perceived effort and high perceived status and it does it while you sleep. There's just no argument against this.
You know, for men that might be married or in a happy committed relationship, can you kind of describe how all of these same principles still apply and how it could be beneficial for them in other ways outside of dating and even outside of advertising their own businesses?
Yes. So as far as networking is concerned, it's the same kind of thing. Like, first thing I do, if somebody wants to do business with me, the first thing I'm going to do is check their social media. If I see that they get 400,000 views per video per reel on Instagram, and then I go look at their YouTube channel and they get 20 views per video, I know they bought their following. Like immediately I'm going to investigate these things. Immediately I'm going to go check this stuff out. So why is it like when I do that, additionally with women, Rolo, who's married, he's been on my show, my co-host, he's been on my show. He's been married for 28 years. And he told me when he started doing the show and there were 10 girls on the show, his wife was throwing herself at him. She's like, it turned him on so much because here's what women want. They don't want a man to cheat, but they want a man who could. They want a man who other women find attractive. And if you don't have any mechanism to allow her to see that other women find you attractive, i.e. social media, then what's going to happen over time is her esteem for you is going to slowly drop. And then remember, hypergamy is satisfied if she thinks your SMV is higher than hers. Over time, she notices no women find you attractive. And this is a subconscious thing. She's not consciously going like seeing this. Subconsciously, she sees no women find you attractive. And now she's like, if your woman is like, yeah, go hang out with those girls, I don't give a fuck. I know none of them would sleep with you. If she feels that way, get ready. The divorce papers are soon to follow because that's what happens. In order for a woman to maintain her level of attraction, hypergamy must be satisfied. In order for her to maintain attraction throughout the relationship, she must feel that your SMV is at least, sexual market value is at least equal or higher than hers. And in order for you to do that, how are you able to do that if she doesn't ever see, again, you go to dinner parties with your wife and she sees other women laughing when you talk, other people coming up and trying to talk to you. It gives a sense of like, okay, there's a sense of scarcity when it comes to this relationship, which makes her more attracted to you. That's healthy. It's okay for you to see other people be attracted to your partner. Now, as men, we don't really need to see it. As men, I can look at my wife and see she's hot. I don't need to know that other men find her attractive for me to find her attractive. Mate choice copying generally works in one direction more than the other, meaning women find men more attractive when they see other women finding those men attractive. Whereas men, we don't find women more attractive because, oh, I've hooked up with so many dudes. Like we don't find her more attractive because she's done that, right? So it's a little bit different. But if you don't do that and you have no way of showing that, and social media is the easiest way to show that with the lowest perceived effort and the highest perceived status, then I don't know what you're doing. Now, if you're a person where you happen to work with a bunch of women, maybe you're a male nurse or something, and she consistently sees other women finding you attractive, maybe you can get around it. And also, I'm going to say one other thing. This is kind of off tangent. If you're a single dude and you go to bed at 9 p.m., get ready for 10 years of no vagina. Like these guys who they have these competitions online to show how early they get up in the morning, bro, are like, the quickest way to never get laid is to go to bed at 8:30 p.m. I am not part of, like, again, I love Wes Watson. He's a buddy of mine.
But you will get a Saratoga sponsorship, Michael.
Yeah, you get a stereotype. Like Ashton Hall, congratulations to him for all the success that he has. All these dudes, Jocko Willink, you'll notice they're in committed relationships with women, so they can afford to go to bed at 8:30 p.m. If you've got your dream woman, you've got your dream job, and you've got your dream family, go to bed at 8:30 p.m. for the rest, and wake up at 3:55. Do that if you need to. For those of you men who are single and you're doing this, and it's like, so I go to bed at 8:30, and now I'm going to go on a date on Thursday night, and I stay out with this girl to maybe like 11 p.m. Like now you've screwed up your whole schedule. For those of you who are single and you're still talking to women, I highly recommend you don't go to bed at 9 p.m. And there's no argument against it. I see this all the time. If you're married, go to bed early. If you're not married, you need to be able to stay up a little bit later in order to go out with women. I don't know why I still get pushback on this. This is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. So that's, I get just as much sleep as Ashton Hall does. I get the same amount of sleep. I just go to bed later because I had a date at 8 p.m. and another date at 11. That's the difference, and I don't use money to get women. Because I understand these mechanisms. And like, I see these guys do this all the time and it's really crazy. Here's a third one I want to go over real quick. When women like your post on IG, or they comment on your posts, other women who are attracted to you will complain about it. A lot of men who can't hold frame, they're afraid of this idea of being called a player. Any one of you who's watching this, you'd be lucky if women called you a player. If women, what you don't want is women being like, he's not a player, he's a great guy. Get ready. All her female friends, none of them are going to sleep with you. They have no interest in you whatsoever. You want women to think you're a little bit edgy, a little bit dangerous, and you could be potentially a little bit of a player. Women only complain about things that affect them. They're only complaining about these guys that they call fuckboys because that's who they find attractive. That's the reason why. So a lot of guys, I'll see this. They'll post pictures. These pictures are not lascivious in any way whatsoever. They're on a red carpet. They're in a suit, and there's like 2 or 3 girls with them. And the girls are like, I don't like that. You look like a player. And then the guy's like, okay, I'll take the photo down. No. Well, you have to stand on business when it comes to this. Other women being attracted to you is not your fault. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with showing that. And the more women complain about it, the more you should know how effective it is.
I also want to point out that according to Grok, the most sex happens between 10 p.m. and midnight in local time zone.
You can't go to bed early anyways. As a man, you can't be going to bed early, bro. I'm sorry. And if you're in your 20s, yeah, bro, get to it. What the fuck? Like, again, maybe if you're born rich, like, you know what I mean? You're born as like a prince of something. Or like,
if you're super rich and you have a huge mansion and you have these like brunch parties and pool parties at your house, and then everything's done by midnight and you end up having sex with your girlfriend around 7 p.m., good for you. But the rest of single men who are out trying to meet women and go on dates, the idea that I'm going to meet a girl for a date at 3 p.m. and we're like hooking up by 5, you live in a fucking dream world, bro. That is not how the world works. Most of the time when you meet a girl, the first time you have sex with her, the sun is going to be down. I'm sorry if you have so little experience with women that you don't understand this. So the idea of you being a single man and going to bed at 9 p.m. does not work. It just doesn't. And I know this is so, I know Sean Whalen, all these guys, I get it. All these guys who are going to disagree with me, they're all married. That's why they're doing this. Okay. I look, Garrett White, another buddy of mine. He's a good friend of mine. Bradley, all these guys, they're married. That's why they're saying this. For you to meet the girl of your dreams, you're going to have to stay out a little bit later. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this. It's true.
No lies have been heard. One thing I wanted to bring up, because we brought up, what can you do as a married man or in a committed relationship? Hey, I mean, you tell people, Michael, this shocked me. You tell them that men and women can actually be just good friends. Is that really true? I don't know if I believe you, man. Tell me why.
It is if you have abundance. It is, you can be friends with women. If you have zero abundance, so like I did 6 months in the Middle East and I came back and I went with my friends to a strip club, I couldn't be friends with women then because I had no abundance. Every woman I saw was like, oh my God, she's so hot, because I had so little abundance with women. If you're a guy and you're consistently dating 4 beautiful women every week, you have no problem being friends with women. It's not an issue for you whatsoever. If you're a dude who's a strip club manager, you have no problem being friends with women. If you're a guy and you run a theater company and there's a bunch of women, like say you run like one of these burlesque shows and like you work with 40 women every day, you have no problem being friends with women. If you're a guy who manages a bar and you have 40 female waitresses who are all stunning, you have no problem being friends with women. When I had a girlfriend, and like, if your needs are being met sexually as a man, you have no problem being friends with women. The problem is most men aren't in that position. And so most men, like if you saw the girls that are my 2 closest friends, they're both playmates. My 2 closest female friends, there's no way most guys could be friends with them because they're so physically attractive. But I have no problem being friends with them because I'm also dating a girl who's just as hot as them. If you can do that, if you can create that level of abundance in your life, you have no problem being friends with women. Now, so for me, I host the 3 biggest bikini competitions in the world. The one at Wet Republic, the one for Paradise Challenge, and then also the one for Swimsuit USA. So I host the 3 biggest bikini competitions in the world. When I go to those bikini competitions, it's me. I had my girlfriend there, and then there were 75 girls competing. I have the idea that I'm just going to hit on 75 girls, bro, it's just madness. No. The other thing is, for me, I tend to like, my type is the volleyball player with a boob job. If girls don't fit my type, I find 1% of women attractive, less than 1% of women attractive. All the women that I don't find attractive, they're not my type. They're too old. Maybe they're married. Like there's some reason I don't find them attractive. That you should friend zone all of them. I'd recommend guys, you friend zone women. Now, here's the thing. You getting friend zoned by women that you like is the worst possible result. It is better for her to spit in your face than to friend zone you. There's the worst possible result is for you to get friend zone. You shoot your shot. She's not interested in you, and you put in the friend zone, and you accept the friend zone moniker. Terrible situation, because not only is this girl never going to sleep with you, when her friends find out that she friend zoned you, none of them are going to sleep with you either. The worst. But if you friend zoned her, like, some of the biggest models that you've ever seen in the world are girls I put in the friend zone. And it's not that I put them in the friend zone because I'm trying to play some kind of trick. It's that they have friends who are not the biggest model in the world, and their friends are gorgeous. And they invite me to these parties where there's like 7 women for every guy. I want access to those events where there's way more women than men. I want to be calibrated so that, like, again, I have guys that'll come in my program, and I'll put them in a situation where they'll meet the girl of their dreams. They're absolute perfect 10. And then immediately they screw it up because they have no calibration when it comes to beautiful women. And beautiful women introduce you to more beautiful women. I don't understand that if we were in marketing, and all of a sudden you guys, let's just say you were selling some kind of coaching, and you found that a certain demographic always bought your product, you would market more to that demographic to make more sales. But if I explain to you that most attractive women meet the guys they sleep with through other attractive women, why don't you have more female friends? How does that not make logical sense to you? And so guys have a problem with this because, like, no, girls put me in the friend zone and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I'm not saying it's okay for girls to put you in the friend zone. I'm saying you need to put every girl in the friend zone. And here's the other part. About 85% of the women I end up dating are girls that I was just friends with, but I put them in the friend zone. That is an important distinction. So basically, I showed them zero sexual intent. I took them out to really cool events with me and several other women. They watched other women react to me, and then they became attracted to me because from their standpoint, my SMV was higher than theirs because they saw other beautiful women with me. And because of that, they started, generally what happens with most of the girls I end up seeing, they show interest in me, and then I end up going out with them because I create so much sexual tension by having so many women around. And so guys don't understand this concept. And how do I do that? I can't, like, dude, I don't care how good your dick game is and how fucking good you are with women. Getting 50 girls to go out with you to a nightclub, you can't sex your way into that. You have to have girls who know girls who introduce you to more girls and invite more girls. That's the only way to do 50 girls. And I'm not telling you got all you guys, you need to have 50. I would recommend you be able to go to a club or a bar with 4. You should be able to do that. But frequently I'll go out with 50. And it's because I have female friends, my lieutenants in my army, that invite other girls to my events. That's the way it works. And so guys don't understand this concept. They're so far behind. And I see so many people. I see Coach Kyle. I see Sadia Khan. I see all these other people in this space. Now they're talking about men and women should be friends. I'm like, no, none of y'all were saying that 16 years ago. I have videos proving it. I was saying this because I worked at I was managing a strip club, and I understood if I can't get Becky and Sally, who are kind of the leaders in the dressing room, to be on my side, my day is going to be hard as shit. So I need to make these girls, I need them on my, when I say female friends, I just need girls on my side. The other thing is, like, if you hang out with a bunch of girls who are always hating on you, my two closest female friends, if I'm out and I meet a girl that I really like, they will do anything. They will distract this guy. They will fucking get the hater girl away. They'll do anything I need to get me to get with a girl that I like alone. Like, they will, because they understand the game, because I explained it to them. And they're on my side. I'm not sleeping with them, but they help me with other women. I don't understand why this is such a foreign concept for so many people. And then you look at my results compared to everyone else's. You just go on my Instagram and look for 5 seconds, and you can say, oh, okay, and now I understand. It's like, it's not that he's with prettier girls. It's he's with 20 of at the same time. And that's what's so hard for people to. And if you guys have any questions about this, go to moamentoring.com/testimonials, and you can see all of my clients do the same thing. Or just go to my Instagram, and you'll just see literally thousands of photos of me with tons of girls. And I'll tell you which ones I'm dating if you want to ask me. And, like, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen, that guys still have this argument about being friends with women.
This kind of touches on something that you talk about, the idea of abundance. That so many people, and I think this zooms out. Like, let's even leave women out of this. Just zooming out, I think with maybe anybody, This idea of like living, do you live in abundance or do you have a scarcity mentality? Can you kind of speak on that idea that you should approach life with the idea of abundance? Because I think a lot of people, when they think of abundance, it's like, I'm giving all my love and I'm not getting any back. Like, how do you see that concept?
So the way you should look at it with abundance is like you go out with a girl, you have a great time, and then she just doesn't call you back. If you have a scarcity mentality, you freak out about that. But if you have an abundance mentality, you already have another date lined up. But which one of those two options also then makes the girl who ghosted you want to call you back? You go quickly. Like, again, if a girl ghosts me, I quickly go out somewhere, do some other social engagement. I'll post it on my story. Then she'll watch it. And then all of a sudden she wants to message me again. It is my abundance fixes the problem. You want to get over your ex, abundance. You want to get your ex back, abundance. The answer is always abundance. Unless you have a heroin addiction, the answer is always abundance. Okay. You want to, again, I'm trying to renegotiate with my job in order to get a better contract with them. Is it worse that other companies have offered me a job, or is it better? Again, having other company, how do I do that? How is it, again, right now, like, right, I've been offered job. I don't need a job, obviously, but I've been offered more jobs since I started my podcast than at any point in my entire life. Okay. My question for you is, how is it, let's just say I'm a research assistant. How is it that I would have several different universities offer me a position as a research assistant when I'm trying to renegotiate with my position here at this university? How can I renegotiate that? It's like, well, how do I get those offers? Do I get those offers by staying in my little cubby hole and going to bed at 9 p.m. every night? Or do I get those offers because I've networked with professors at every single university and they all know who I am and they all follow me on social media? Your network is truly your net worth. It really is. It's like, again, imagine being a copywriter. You're a phenomenal copywriter. Your conversion rate on your emails is astronomical, through the roof, highest in the entire world. Wouldn't it be awesome to have that skill to be an incredible copywriter? Now, combine that skill with also being the copywriter that everyone knows, that literally people are coming to you to try to get jobs in copywriting. Do you know you don't even have to apply for jobs at that point? You have so much abundance in your life. People are throwing money at you. That's what the world is like on the other side. Dude, I go to I go to dinner with some of my friends back in high school or whatever, back in college or whatever. And I'm not trying to call anybody out particularly, but it's like the bill comes and everyone's just kind of like looking at each other and I always just like, dude, I take out my card. I'm like, I'm going to pay for this whole thing because I don't want this to be awkward. But they're all like looking to each other to pay. If you go to dinner with like, let's say Brad Lee is there and Dan Fleischman and just guys like that, like hyper successful, Dan, Ty Lopez, like Owen Cook, guys who are like I'm good friends with. If you go to dinner with this group of guys, even Wes Watson, by the way, I know Wes is in a lot of trouble right now, but you could learn a ton from that guy. If you want to do a high ticket sales program, coaching program with no sales team, he's doing $4 million a month with no sales team. Yes, he was. I've seen the Square accounts. Yes, he was. With all those guys, if you go to dinner with that group of guys, you want to know something? They're racing. They're going to the bathroom, finding the waitress and giving the girl their card. They're racing. When I go out with Justin Waller, it's so funny. Me and Justin Waller, whenever we go to dinner, it's this game we play to see who can pay the bill before the other person. I literally go to the bathroom, find the manager, find the waitress, give her my card halfway through the dinner, and it's paid for before he can even put his card down. When I'm with people who have abundance, they're racing to pay the bill. When I have people with scarcity, they're all looking at each other for who's gonna pay the bill. That's what it's like on the other side. When you have abundance, you surround yourself with other people with abundance, and the world, it just opens for you. Do you understand how many people I can call for free advice? How many people I know that do 10 million a month in revenue that I can call for free advice? There's innumerable ones. Why? Because I solve problems for them. Because I have an abundance mentality. And my ex-girlfriend would say this all the time. She's like, I want, like, you make me mad and I want to like stomp out of the room, but I can't because I know you'll replace me in like 10 seconds. Sorry, it's not my fault. And she wasn't wrong. That was the truth. I love her, but she also understands that if we break up, I'm going to be sad to see you gone, but I'm going to be on a date with somebody that night. And that's the truth. That is what abundance brings you. Abundance doesn't only get you over your ex. Abundance gets your ex to want you back. Abundance doesn't get you a better position at your work. It doesn't like find you a new job. It also makes your current job offer you more money. Abundance is always the answer. Trying to figure out and play these psychological games. If you don't want me, let's get the fuck out of here. I remember we were signing the agreement with my business partners on my company, and there's this clause in there about like kicking a member of the company out. And one of the guys was like, I don't like this clause, but we can just kick each other out. And I was like, I don't mind. If you guys want to kick me out of this company, good, kick me out. I will start a new company in 10 seconds. Do you understand? Like, I would never, of course, keep the language in there. It doesn't bother me at all. Any guy who wants to leave my sales team, I don't have like all the NDAs. No, fuck it, go. If you don't want to work for me, go work for someone else. The worst thing in the world is for me to have someone working for me who I don't want to work with. And every time, this is another one, this is a really controversial one. Every time a woman cheats on you, she's always doing you a favor. Every time a woman cheats on you, she's doing you a favor. If you break up with her. If you break up with her. If you don't break up with her, she's ruining your life. But she's doing, because why? She doesn't want to be there. A guy doesn't want to be on my sales team? Go. A woman doesn't want to date me? Go. You can only do that if you have abundance. It's the only way you can live your life like that. And so a lot of people, they recognize that when they do work with me, again, this is another thing. If you're a friend of mine, let's say we're a business partner and we're friends, and then you screw me over. I've had this happen before. I don't talk shit about you. You just don't get access to my network anymore. You don't get access to my problem-solving ability. I have made myself so indispensable that the punishment is you just don't get access to me anymore. I'm not gonna talk shit about you to your friends. I'm not gonna go talk shit about you to your girlfriend. I'm not gonna do any of that. I'm not gonna write blog articles about you or make videos about you. You just don't get access to me anymore. All this that I have is now closed off to you. And I've made myself valuable enough through abundance to where it's worth, like, this is the reason why I don't get screwed over anymore. It's not that I don't get screwed over because people aren't malicious or greedy or selfish. They are. They don't screw me over because they understand if they screw me over, all that I give you is gone. All these connections I have, they're gone now. And maybe that doesn't mean that much to you. But also, every guy who's a friend of mine, they all meet their girlfriends through me. My sales lead next door has met his girlfriend through me, through an event that I have. My business partner just got engaged to a girl he met at one of my events. My friends all meet their girlfriends through me. All my friends get their jobs through me. How is that I do that? I teach you how to do this. You do this and people just bend over backwards to get you in anywhere and do anything for you that they can because you offer tons of value and you solve people's problems and you ask for nothing in return. You do this over and over again and they're like, holy shit, I can't afford to not have this guy in my life. I can't afford to screw this guy over. That's how you do it. Some people use the carrot. Some people use the stick. I only use the carrot. You get benefits from being a part of my life. If you don't, I know there's no stick. I'm not going to ever punish you. You just don't get to be a part of my life anymore.
I will say, Michael, I'm very glad and grateful that you came on the GOAT Show. Maybe what is, as we probably gonna close it out here, what is your thought on gratitude after all we've said? After all this stuff, we got to improve. We got to level up, get the higher status. Be in charge of our lives. All this kind of stuff. There is a component to your program that may seem antithetical to that idea. Where does gratitude sit in all this? In all this type of stuff.
So I live here in Las Vegas. I've been here. We're coming up on 13 years, 14 years that I've been here in August. And all the nightlife directors here, they either know me from back when I worked in nightlife. I've just been here a long time. I'm not special. I've just been here a long time. Or a lot of them watch my podcast and they're like, because I talk about a lot of Vegas stuff and a lot of them agree with me. And like women flaking, every host in this city is like, when they hear me talk about women flaking, they're like, yeah, what he said. So when I go to a nightclub in Las Vegas, I never have to wait in line. I always get stage wristbands. I can take as many girls as I want with me. I'll walk in there with like 20, 30 girls, and I'll do this all the time. Even though I can do that, I never go up to the new security guard and be like, bro, do you know who I am? I will never show the slightest smidgen of entitlement, and I will wait in line if they ask me to, and I will never complain about anything. I am so grateful. Even though I remember one time I brought, I'll show you guys pictures. I brought 35 girls to Zook for my birthday. And I remember walking out, thanking all the guys. Hey guys, thank you for letting me have my birthday here. And meanwhile, they're like, dude, you made our night. We sold a bunch of bottles. They're thanking me. And I'm like, bro, I just want to say, I'm so grateful to you for like allowing me to come to your venue. I have another buddy of mine. He's Jason Strauss. He owns Tal Haksan. And I'll bring, anytime he has an opening, I'll bring a bunch of girls. And then I'm like, Jason, thank you for allowing me to bring 25 girls to your event. And he's like, yo, my man, thank you. So that's how I treat life. I'll do things for people. Ty Lopez, I'll come up and I'll give him, I have a speech. One of my speeches I gave it, every time Ty Lopez has a mansion party, I go up and give a speech. And Ty would have the speech, and then afterwards, like, I crushed it. Like, the dudes were cheering. They're like, yo, that was awesome. I had like 50 people come ask me for my IG. And afterwards, I'm like, hey, Ty, thank you for allowing me to speak at your event. I always have gratitude. I never take it for granted that all these things that I have. I live in a time after antibiotics. Guys, do you know that syphilis had a 57% mortality rate before antibiotics? Do you know how many people you know have caught gonorrhea or chlamydia or syphilis? 57% mortality rate, bro. Do you know that before the year 1850, that over half the Earth's population died before the age of 5? Do you understand? Like, think about a woman losing a child. That was happening at, like, women were having, like, carrying 12 pregnancies during their lifetime, and half of them would die. Do you know how horrible that would be? Guys, do you understand that over half the Earth's population lives on less than $5 a day today? There's a place, Managua, Nicaragua, I believe. There's a landfill. It's where people put a bunch of trash in there. There's thousands of people who live in there because it's the only place they can get food. Do you know how incredibly lucky you have? All of you guys, even if you live in Canada, you live in the UK, you live in Australia, you live in the United States, you live in the wealthiest nations that have ever lived in the history of humanity. You have no idea how incredibly lucky you are. You and I are talking to each other from far distances away from each other at 186,282 miles a second because of the advent of technology that has allowed us to have this communication. We can do this from home. I'm going to push a button here in a few minutes and food is just going to magically appear at my door. Yeah. And like, we have this frictionless economy that's happening. You have no idea how lucky you are. All of you guys who are watching this, all of you can become incredible copywriters, telephone salespeople. You guys can learn to write code, or you can learn to prompt AI to write code for you. All of you have the ability right now to do this from your home without a college degree. The fact that you don't have gratitude, you're a moron. You have 2 arms and 2 legs that work. If you don't have gratitude, go watch Nick Santonastasso. The dude's missing 2 legs and an arm. He was born that way, and he's driving a supercar and dating a supermodel. Look it up if you don't believe me. Look up Zion Clark. The guy was born, he's missing 2 legs, and he won an MMA fight. Look it up if you don't believe me. Bro, you have no idea how incredibly fortunate all of you are just to have the ability to hear and see me. You have sight and hearing. You are given the likelihood of you never being born. You should look up the math on this. It's incredible. It's like a 1 in a trillion opportunity for you to be born. Your life should be nothing but gratitude. If I die tomorrow, I had an incredible life. That's how I feel all the time. No regret. So there's 3 functions. It's gratitude. It's present moment awareness. Right? Like, I have a bunch of people texting me right now. The only thing that matters is me doing this podcast with you guys. When I'm in the present moment, the only thing that matters is the present moment. That's the only true way to fulfillment. It's the only true way to happiness. And then lastly, the recognition that I'm going to die. The recognition that in 300 years, myself and Elon Musk will be exactly as dead as one another. Like that the understanding of your own mortality is like, okay, let me make something of today. Let me do what I want to do today. Does that make sense? Let me date who I want to date. Let me have the job I've always wanted to have today. Now, in my case, I haven't, I'm 47. I'm not married. A lot of people will be like, oh, you should be married. It's like, well, I'm experiencing these incredible things in life, and I just maybe don't have time for that. But other people may have different things. Maybe the ultimate experience in your life is having kids and getting married. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here. That's another, when we're talking about masculinity, another function of masculinity is me accepting you in the way that you live your life. As long as you're honest, as long as you're not hurting other people, I accept that. So what I'm talking about is the stockbroker and the cowboy, and the rancher. The rancher makes his living, and he protects his wife and children and provides for them. And then the stockbroker can look at the rancher and say, I don't do what you do, but I respect you. And the rancher can look at the stockbroker and say, I don't provide for my family the way you do, but I respect you. The Christian and the Muslim can look at each other and say, I don't raise my children exactly the same way you do, but I respect the fact that you raise yours. They can look at one another and respect. That is a function of masculinity. A function of masculinity is individuality. A function of feminism, and I'm not talking about feminists. I'm sorry. I'm not talking about being feminine. I'm talking about feminist, is groupthink. You don't agree that we all have agreed that this man is now a woman, therefore you must be canceled. That's groupthink. Groupthink is the opposite. It is not a masculine tenet. you being able to make money and live life your own way and not judge other people for the way they live theirs, that is a function of masculinity.
Because you brought up AI, I kind of want to pick your brain about this because you've talked about this. What do you think about the future, man? With AI, I mean, I know you said that we're gonna die. I don't know, Michael. I want to upload into the Borg. I want to transfer my consciousness, live forever.
You're still dead.
The more the Gorloks can just die like with the rest. I don't know. What do you think of all this stuff?
Ray Kurzweil, in his book, The Singularity is Near, he has this really interesting thought problem. Okay. So I want you to consider, if I take my amygdala and I replace my amygdala with a chip, a Neuralink chip, am I still alive? Yes. I mean, we'd all pretty much agree I'm still alive. Now, I take the speech pattern recognition part of it and I replace that with a chip in the left hemisphere of my brain. Am I still alive? Well, yeah, I'm still alive. Okay. Now, at some point, I take my hip and my spine and I replace it with titanium and robotics. Am I still alive? Well, yeah, for sure. But I'm actually like a more functioning human being. Okay. Now I take some of the bones in I'm a Wolverine. I replace them with antimanium. Okay. Now, am I still alive? Yeah, you would say I'm still alive. Okay. Now I take my eyes and I actually replace it and attach to the optic nerve using some chip that makes me be able to see in infrared. I'm like basically Geordie LaForge. Am I still alive? You would say yes. There's a point where I keep replacing parts of my brain to where my entire brain is replaced by electronics. At that point, did I die? And when did I die? And this is a really interesting question that Ray Kurzweil asked in the book. At what point did you die? I mean, you're still functioning, your heart's still beating, but your brain has been replaced and you're still having the exact same thoughts. The exact same consciousness now still exists in you. Are you alive? Or are you dead? And this is a very interesting philosophical and religious theological question that a lot of people are going to have to deal with here in the near future. And I don't have the answer. But what I do know is that we are going to get to a place here very soon where artificial intelligence, we're going to combine it with I forgot what the word it is, the cyborg, when you attachments to your body. I forgot what it's called, but like we're artificial intelligence in combination with things that you can implant, chips you can implant in your brain, and artificial intelligence leading to androids that are able to service you both like in your life, doing manual labor, etc. We're going to get to that point where the people who adopt those attributes are going to be part of the decision-making class, and the people who don't are going to be part of they're basically going to be chattel. Like if you're a person right now and you aren't talking to an AI language model at least once a day, you are going to be so far behind in the next couple of years. You are going to be unemployable. Literally every single job that you have out there is going to require the assistance of AI, and you being able to solve problems at the speed of light is going to be a requirement. And those of you who understand how to prompt AI models, you are going to be the decision makers of the future. You're going to be the wealth holders of the future. Those of you who don't understand AI or you're afraid of it, you're going to be left behind. But the way you're going to be left behind is way worse than at any point throughout history. Those who were technologically savvy were able to make more money than those who weren't. Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. Those who were technologically savvy were able to uplift themselves, and there was a separation, a disparity of wealth that was created because of it. The disparity of wealth that is going to be created because of AI is going to be tenfold the previous disparity of wealth. Those of you, like every one of you, if you want to, the number one thing I'm going to say to you that you should be terrified of is you not understanding how to prompt AI. You need to talk to it every day and see its capabilities. And once you do, then you're going to say, okay, I understand. This is the new language that I'm going to be speaking. These little petty problems I had before, they're easily solved in 2 seconds. It frees me up to solve bigger problems now. And so if you guys are not, every one of you watching this should have Grok, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Gemini, Poe, and Claude on your phone. Every single one of you watching this should have all of those on your phone. If you don't, and you aren't talking to them at least on a daily basis, I feel nothing but pity for you. Look, the things are about to change at the speed of light the next, say, 2 years.
Hey, man, we perplexity'd you. So, I mean, there you go.
I will say Perplexity there's still a controversy about how tall I am. That's really funny. That's still in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's pretty funny. Perplexity still because they scrape in real time. Perplexity still does get certain things wrong.
You should take a picture of you next to like one of those rulers and post it to Perplexity and be like, don't get it wrong anymore.
Yeah, I've done that before and they still get it wrong. They'll say that I have stilts or that I used AI to make the photo. It doesn't matter what I do. There's a group. It's not Perplexity that gets it wrong. There's a group of haters out there that say this stuff, and it's really funny to me. It's just this victim mindset.
Speaking on AI, I use Grok this whole time, and to follow back up on your your chances of being alive, depending on who you quote. There's Dr. Ali Benazer, and he says with factoring in historical contingencies, the number is like 1 in 10 to the 2,658,000. So like a 1 followed by 2 million, over 2 million zeros.
You're multiplying the chance of a particular egg and a particular ovum and a particular sperm cell, which we're talking to hundreds of millions, and then then you have to multiply that by the chances of any copulation having whatsoever, and that your two parents meeting. It's like the numbers, because what you're doing is you're not calculating your chances of being alive as much as you're calculating against all the other possibilities where you never existed, and it becomes like some astronomical number. So have gratitude. Have gratitude for this experience. Even if it sucks. Some of you, like, listen, man, if I get cancer and end up dying in a year, it was still I still got to live. And so I think having gratitude for that is just a way better way to live your life. And also, it also helps you in another thing. Like, you'll notice at no point during our discussion do I express any kind of hatred for anyone. I understand that even woke liberal people who want these incredible egalitarian natures, this incredible egalitarian society that they imagine in their head, or even the people who created that show Adolescence and literally use it as clear and total propaganda in order to try to get manosphere content banned on social media. Even with them, in their mind, they started from a good place. No, they become misguided, but they started from a good place. So hating them is always terrible. The idea, again, there's two things here. I don't think women are malicious, but I do think that their pickiness has caused us to come into a dating crisis. Their delusional nature at which they try to choose men has caused us to come into a dating crisis. But I don't think it's their fault. I think it's just a function of evolution. And so us being able to recognize that, not hate other people because they're different from us, I think that's also helpful.
I got actually one last thing, Michael. We got many last things. I don't know. We'll keep going. You tell us. But I think your most controversial position, the one that's going to get us totally canceled by a different side of this whole thing. You believe we went to the moon. Now I know you know physics. I struggle with that one, man. I struggle with it. I want Kubrick. I want to know that Kubrick made that film. What? Maybe this is a huge discussion, but
I want to double up on that question. If we went to the moon, is the film that we've seen about the moon the actual film?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So, I mean, we can go into, if we want to go into specific questions, I can give you specific issues here. So let's go over the big ones first. Number one, there's 9 retroreflectors on the surface of the moon. They happened where the landings happen. Though, if you go you shine a laser beam at those retroreflectors, you will get a laser beam light back in 2.2 seconds, which proves that the moon is 238,900 miles away and that the speed of light is 186,282 miles per second. It's irrefutable. If you shine a light where the lander happened for the Eagle 1 that happened in 1969 where Neil Armstrong was, you will get a beam back. So someone went to the moon and put retroreflectors up there. You may think it's robots or whatever, but it happened after that day, meaning the day it happened, you could shine a light up there and get a light back. So that's the first thing. Number 2, the first person to congratulate the United States on the moon landing was Nikita Khrushchev. So you're telling me that the leader of the Soviet Union, who has been doing everything they can to try to discredit us, congratulated us for going to the moon, but you think the first person in the world who would say that we didn't go to the moon would have been the Russians, and they congratulated us. And they had the ability, because they had put objects in space and to be able to measure whether or not we actually went there. They were able to, because NASA's open source, they were able to listen to radio communications just like everybody else. They were able to use telemetry to tell where the Apollo 11 was and that it went around the moon. Okay, that's the next thing. Number 3, when you see the video of them landing, there's a wave pattern that happens if you watch the sand when it's coming out, or watch the dirt. It's called regolith. Whenever you have dirt that has no living property in it, has no nitrogen, it's called regolith. The regolith, you see the regolith particles start to spread like this. If I were to take a blow dryer and blow it into sand, what you're going to see is an even disbursement pattern, and that's because it's under pressure. The only way to create that wave pattern is to do it in a vacuum. There is no vacuum chamber in 1969 that is big enough in order to create that illusion. There is no possibility that they did that under vacuum. That landing feature could only be filmed in a loss of vacuum, in total vacuum, almost total vacuum on the surface of the moon. Okay. Additionally, when people have an idea, it's like, oh, this looks like Stanley Kubrick and all this kind of stuff, you're used to seeing the sun and its sunlight dispersed because there's an ultraviolet, there's a O3, what's it called, ozone layer in the Earth that disperses ultraviolet light. And so because of that, you see the sun looking an orange color because blue, indigo, and violet are absorbed by the ultraviolet, by the ozone layer. On the moon, there is no atmosphere. There's an extremely small carbon dioxide atmosphere on the surface of the moon. And so because you see that, what you should see is the light looking like a spotlight because there's no dispersion of the light. And that looks like a spotlight from a movie. That's why people say what they're saying. Additionally, who took the video of Armstrong getting off the ground? Yeah, it's obvious. The problem is, why don't you guys just use Perplexity and ask the question? There's a fucking camera on the other leg of the lander. That's where it's looking.
Because I've been told we've been lied to, Michael. I want to, I trust you, man. I trust.
It's any part. The Van Allen belt. There was a person in NASA who said the Van Allen belt had the potential to fry the astronauts when it went through it. They flew through there. People keep forgetting that you're going 16,000 miles an hour. Like the part of the Van Allen belt, it's not a consistent belt that goes all the way out to the moon. It's something that you pass through going extremely fast, like Mach 20 or whatever. You're going through the Van Allen belt. Also the shuttle was rotating so that the radiation was not just absorbed by one side of it, and it went through it extremely fast. It turned out that the radiation levels turned out to be very, very little. And also the Van Allen belt does not create radiation. It reflects radiation from the sun. So like there were several ways to mitigate for this. Anything else you guys want to go over, I can explain. Why we didn't go back again. There was a bill that was put on Nixon's table after a bill that was presented to Nixon, either go to Mars or go to start the STS program. People think that the STS program, I'm just going to have the shuttle and then the shuttle will just go to the moon. No, you need you need way more thrust in order to get out of low Earth orbit than you do to actually go to the moon. You need significantly more thrust. I believe it's like 7 miles per second to like 11 miles per second. Like that's the difference in velocity that you need. And so in order to do that, it became so cost prohibitive. And because the Russians never went to the moon, we had no one to race anymore. Does that make sense? It's like going out and playing Call of Duty, but there's nobody else who wants to play. Eventually, you're just going to put the controller down. That's what's happened. We were playing a game with the Russians and we won. We mollywopped them. They beat us, putting first man in the moon, first man in space, first man in a spacewalk, first animal in space, first satellite. The Russians were kicking our ass. We had to beat them, and we finally did when Apollo 11 landed on the moon, and the following 6 of the 5 other craft that landed on the moon as well. Those things happened. We won the race. There was no reason for us to expend that percentage of our GDP to put people on the moon when there was no one for us to race. And there was no reason for at the time, we didn't know how to mine what's it called? Helium-3, tritium. There's a theory that we may be able to mine tritium on the moon. We didn't know how to do that back then. There's no reason from a strategic or military standpoint for us to put anything on the moon. You could put missiles in space, on orbit. You don't need to put them on the moon. There was no military value to it whatsoever. That's why we didn't go back. Any other parts you want me to debunk? Because I do this for a living.
You know what? USA, we won. Y'all shut the fuck up, all right? America's great.
Again, ask your friends, why did Nikita Khrushchev congratulate us for going to the moon? And just watch their brains be like, oh, wait, there's no way. There's no way we'd affect it. Why, even to this day, why doesn't Putin just be like, we have information exposing the America? Why don't they do that? They would know. The Russians have a space program. They would know. Last one. The Indian Space Administration, the Chinese Space Administration, the European Space Administration, the Russian Space Administration have all taken pictures of the lander on the surface of the moon and sent them back. All of them. They're taking pictures in orbit. You can literally see the landers is still there. You can see where the flag was. It's all still there. Any other thing you guys want to go over? It's easily explainable. What I find is moon landing deniers never want to research why we did land on the moon. They only want to research how we didn't. So if you spend any time on it, it's pretty easy to solve.
10 years, commercial flights to Mars. Are you going?
No, I think 10 years you're going to see commercial flights to the moon. I would go to that. Mars, I don't want to spend 6 months in in something the size of an SUV. I have no interest in doing that.
Even if the robots have built like a thing.
It's a function of velocity. It's not a function of like comfort. It's like if you the problem, like, so for instance, if they were to create some kind of space station that was like super livable, they had like a circular dome, like was it the Prometheus? I forgot what the name of the ship is in the show The Martian. Remember in The Martian? And they had a habitat dome and it would rotate and you could just live at like 1G all the time and read awesome books and hang out with your friends. And it was like a vacation for 6 months. Maybe I would consider it then. But the problem is the velocity is not up to, unless we create some kind of ion, engine, the velocity is pretty much set at whatever the Earth can slingshot you to Mars at. And so because of that, it's pretty much you're set at 6-9 months, somewhere in that area. And then the return visit has to be 3 years later. So there's no negotiating with astrophysics, because the sun and when Mars and the Earth are on the opposite side of the sun, you can't transition between the two of them. Right. So you have to wait for the transition point to come back. So there's significant logistical problems. But I mean, I would say army of robots, like you said, comfortable hotel room, underground, all that kind of shit. Well, all those kinks worked out, maybe. But the moon is something I would like to do in my lifetime, 100%. And the other thing is, I would like to make it so affordable that I could actually take Flat Earth Dave and Zerka on a ship with me and watch the tears like come down. Watch the tears come down their face as they see the Earth rotating beneath them and realizing everything that they've tried to convince people of is absolute, complete, and total horseshit. Like what happened to Jaron. By the way, Jaron who went to Antarctica, he messaged me afterwards and he's like, he's ready to come on my podcast. He isn't a flat earther anymore once he saw the sun go around the horizon.
We had Flat Earth Dave, and so got love for Flat Earth Dave, but we'll see. We got to settle it. I think it has been settled, but he may disagree with that.
He definitely disagrees. He thinks that Jaron just made it all up. That Jaron's a shill and he got paid off.
But isn't that the problem with conspiracies, right? Is like that once you start believing it at that level, everything is just a conspiracy and you can never disprove it.
Yeah. So the problem, one of the biggest problems with flat Earth is basically a victimology. It's like the world didn't work out the way I wanted it to, so I believe the Earth is flat. Like even Terrence Howard, like there was some role he didn't get, or some sort of victimology that creates this flat Earth thing. Because once the flat Earth happens, then all these people who are above me, I know something they don't know, and I've exposed them. That's what flat Earth is essentially. Flat Earth is not. People can't explain flat Earth. They don't have any idea. They just believe in this counterculture. What's it called? Disruptive narrative that basically throws everything on its head. The problem is then it leads you to things that are not that dangerous. Like it's really funny. They survey these people in the UK. What percentage of you think that Princess Diana was murdered? And it was like some 68%. And then of those people, they say, what percentage of you think she faked her own death? And it was like 83%. It was like, so you think she faked her own death and she was murdered? Like there's no logic when it comes to this whatsoever. Okay. So the problem is those are not dangerous. Where it gets dangerous is then it's like the Holocaust didn't happen. And what you're going to find is there's this massive correlation between flat Earth deniers and moon landing deniers and Holocaust deniers. And that there's like this slight membrane between the two, because they get into the whole, Operation Paperclip, and then this thing becomes very political and all this kind of stuff. And that's when things get dangerous. And then it's like, then physics isn't real. Then evolution isn't real. Then we get into those places. And that's ultimately the ultimate damage, is the derivatives that happen from flat Earth. And even me saying this, I don't think that those guys should be banned from the internet, but that's where you get very quickly. It's like, World War II was just propaganda. Hitler wasn't even a real person. Like you start hearing stuff like that, and now we get into very dangerous spaces.
Well, like the war never happened.
Yeah, like we get into real dangerous spaces. Yeah, for sure. Well, the war, of course, like all of it's fake, fresh, because our Earth's only 4,000 years old. You didn't know that? That's what they believe.
What?
Yeah, the Earth's only 4,000 years old. Yes, that's what they believe.
So explain like Gobekli Tepe.
Yeah, they were planted there by the Illuminati, along with the dinosaur bones.
Got it.
They were planted there. Yeah.
Got it. Dinosaurs just couldn't have had couldn't have had feathers. Like maybe they got some things wrong. They couldn't have had feathers. Like but
volcanoes are thermonuclear devices that they detonate underground.
Oh, sick.
And that's what earthquakes are. Earthquakes come from that too. That's what flat earthers believe.
Sick, bro. That's sick.
Yeah, I've gone way down this. I was dating my dream girl. I was dating her, and she started telling me flat earth shit, and I was like, oh, this is the end of our relationship. This sucks. And I was like so attracted to her. And so I just went down this rabbit hole, and I was just like, oh my God, this is such a disaster that she believes this fucking nonsense. Like it just sucks. But a lot of people are doing it because they were like, yeah, get back at the man. They want to piss their parents off. Like, yeah, the earth's flat, whatever.
Well, and then there's some conspiracies that are real, man. Like, I mean, I don't know what's going on with Epstein and all that shit, but come on.
MK Ultra is real. Here's one conspiracy: the firebombing of Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921. We never talk about it. These white people just firebombed a black neighborhood in 1921. Nobody ever discusses it. Tuskegee experiments, deliberately not giving penicillin to African American men to see how bad the syphilis would kill them. Like these things really did happen. Yeah, there's tons of conspiracies. Those things are real. Like what happened with Westmoreland hiding the body counts during Vietnam. Those are real. There's real conspiracies.
CIA's involvement with the crack epidemic.
I mean, yeah, for sure. Well, so it was an unintended consequence, but yes, them allowing drugs to be flown in through Nicaragua is or Panama is what ended up partially causing the crack epidemic, but it also funded their ability to send weapons to I forgot which way they were going. The Iran-Contra affair. Yeah, exactly. I totally understand what you're saying. Though these things definitely did happen, and we find these things out to be further and further away. But there's other conspiracies that we don't even discuss. The fact that property taxes fund independent school districts is a conspiracy. I don't know how you guys don't see that. Poor people go to shittier fucking schools. It's a cycle of poverty that's created by your government. Like I don't know how we don't grasp that. Like that whole thing is ridiculous. So like there's other conspiracies that happen all the time that we don't. Another conspiracy is the federal government's inability to stop printing money, which causes instead of taxing you, they just deflate your currency and then they're absconding with your money. That's an actual thing that's happening, but we act like it's not that big of a deal and we don't hold our politicians accountable. Those are real conspiracies. Those are real things that have happened.
Well, okay. You bring up economics. I mean, we're going through it. We're going through it right now, man, with these tariffs. What's going on with that, Micheal? Are you pro-tariff, anti-tariff?
No, bro. Market went up 500 points today.
I know, insane.
I think we're going to be back at all-time highs very quickly. So here's the thing. This is really interesting that you're asking this question because this is a big one. Have you guys ever seen how someone gets prosecuted? They get indicted by the federal government. And when there's an indictment, usually with the federal government, they always throw in wire charges, multiple felonies. They'll charge them with 33 counts of whatever. Does that make sense? What does it cost the government to charge you with 30 counts versus 20 counts? What does it cost them? Nothing. They can literally manufacture a problem in your life out of thin air. Do you guys understand that? Right? And then what generally happens is the federal government wants to settle out of court. And so instead of you getting convicted of 33 felonies, you end up pleading down to 1 or 2 minor felonies. Does everybody understand? So they created a problem that you had to negotiate against, but that problem just was manufactured out of thin air. Does that make sense? That's what Trump is attempting to do with tariffs. I'm not telling you that he's right or wrong. I'm telling you the attempt was, I'm going to create a problem that didn't exist that I can create because I'm the head of the executive branch. I'm going to create tariffs against these other countries. And most of them are threats. Most of this is posturing and threatening. But if his posturing and threatening causes the price of goods from China to decrease because China reduces their tariffs against us, if this works, I'm not telling you it'll work. If this works, it will be an incredible boon for our country. If this works, if what he's saying works. If it doesn't work, then the price of everything goes skyrocketing. But the other advantage is the United States becomes incredibly self-reliant, which makes us the most powerful country in the world again, because we have absolutely but we're going to have very little necessity for other countries. They can't intervene in our public policy or our national policy whatsoever. We're already started doing that, becoming a net exporter of petroleum, which is before we were a net importer of petroleum, which is why we ended up going to war over it. So there's a lot that's going on here, but basically the way to say it is Trump had no bargaining position with China and created one by threatening tariffs, like 104% tariffs on their goods. And then China comes to the realization, they're like, man, like these guys are really going to go through with it. This guy isn't up for a second term. He doesn't give a shit. He's going to actually impose these tariffs. And then what'll happen over time, China needs to save face. They can't just like, oh, he threatened us, so we have to like give him what he wants. We'll look at a couple of months down the line, and you'll see a Xi Jinping and Donald Trump shaking hands, smiling, and Donald Trump be like, this is an incredible leader. China is an incredible innovator. And Xi Jinping is be like, we see the future in a strong America. And then all of a sudden those tariffs magically went away on both sides. And then the stock market rises. And in the end, all those tariffs that other countries were imposing on us because we're the wealthiest nation in the world and they just figure they can just take advantage of us, all those tariffs go away, then this was an incredible victory. But we are playing chicken. This is a game of chicken that we're playing. I'm not telling you it's going to work. What I'm telling you is this is the reason why he's doing it.
Yeah, I find it's fascinating. I just hope that the fallout isn't too bad for Americans.
Well, I mean, realistically, when we saw what Elon Musk was able to do by machining all their own parts for SpaceX and Tesla in-house and being able to do it with robotics, like in reality, if AI combines with robotics, then we don't need these tariffs can go fuck themselves. Like seriously, like these other countries, we won't need them to manufacture anything. And if we get to that point, then that's going to be a point where all these countries are going to be beholden to the wealthiest nation in the world. And that's where things really get dangerous, is because these countries will have no power over us whatsoever if we start using artificial intelligence along with robotics to manufacture these textiles that we could get cheaply in China. You see what I'm saying? So that's another issue that could happen there. And we've already seen this is happening because how expensive it was to produce a car, and now we see what Elon Musk is able to do with SpaceX, putting aircraft or putting spacecraft into space at a one fraction of the cost that would it cost the federal government. And they're able to do so because they're able to machine all the parts in-house. So manufacturing coming back to the United States, but doing so with, like, say, robotics and assembly lines, that's a huge threat to India's economy, China's economy, Sri Lanka's economy. That's a huge threat to that. And so that's in addition to that, in addition to these tariffs, he's going to be able to get favorable trade deals with every country in the world. If this works.
Man, since you brought up Elon, I want to get your take on this Ashley. I don't know if you heard of this Ashley Sinclair situation where.
Yeah.
Okay. So this makes me believe that men are cooked. We talked about it on the show.
What should make you men think that men are cooked is that Elon must put his dick in Amber Heard. That's where you should think men are cooked. He's smarter than all of us, and he still fucked Amber Heard.
He's on Twitter saying he doesn't even know if the child is his, and he's paying her $2 million and $500K a month.
He's got it like that. Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. What's going on here?
It ain't tricking if you got it, baby.
It's $500K a year, and and she's just exposing herself. I think it's just a really bad look for her. To be fair, it's like you can't.
Yeah, but other women look at that and they're going to be like, well. Yeah,
from a moral standpoint, you're right. But from an incentive standpoint, guys, ready? You want the craziest stat I've given you the whole day? How about this? Can somebody look this up? The number of women in the United States between 21 and 30, how many total women there are? And then I forgot what the number is, but it's well under 50 million. It's like 20 million, 25 million, somewhere around there. You guys see it?
How many women in the USA between 21 and 30? That was the question.
21 and 30. The total female population between 21 and 30.
21.15 million.
Okay, there's 21 million women between the ages of 21 and 30. There are 1.4 million female OnlyFans creators in the United States. Do the math. Do you understand? There's like 8 or 9% of all the women you meet between 21 and 30 are on OnlyFans. And if they're attractive, I'll bet that number goes to 20%. Do you have any idea how crazy that is and the downstream ramifications of you like creating a society where women are almost entirely rewarded for their physical attractiveness and rewarded even more for their promiscuity? Bro, do you understand what that does? Your daughter's like, I want to be a vet tech, and then her friend is making $30K a month by fucking some dude on OF, and you act like it's not that big of a deal. And I just told you 8% of women between 21 and 30 are on OnlyFans. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's 5%. I don't give a shit. That is crazy. That number is nuts. That is absolutely insane when you consider that, man.
I wonder what the percent is of those women that came from households without a father.
Oh, that could be it. But I got news for you. There's girls who came from households that do have a father, and they still are not going to turn down 1.5 million a month, because that's what those girls in the Bob house. Like, I don't care what there's no way. If you were you came from a perfectly sound household, you were everything totally normal, super healthy, and then you go and visit your friend at the Bop House in Los Angeles and see what's the girl's name? The girl who made 57 million last year. What's her name? Ashley Skies something. What was her name? I can't even remember the girl's name.
Sophie Rain.
Yeah, Sophie Rain. So you meet Sophie Rain, and let's just say you see the potential of not making the 5 million a month she's making, or even the 1.5 million that Carmela chick is making, but just making 50,000 a month from dancing on TikTok videos, and you never even get naked. I don't care how stable your household is, bro. That doesn't matter. All of a sudden, making 500-600 G's a year by dancing around in from some short shorts, that's a hard thing for women to deny. The problem is, so many of these women are basically going on OnlyFans, showing themselves naked, and then making $20 a month. That's the majority of them. The majority of the median content creator on OF makes $200 a month. So you have all these girls that have exposed themselves forever, and then they're on there, and then now you look 1.4 million creators on OF. That is insane. And by the way, ladies, if you want to like do one and then take it down later, go check out webarchive.com. They can find, that's how they found Travis Hunter's girlfriend. It turned out that she used to have an OnlyFans that she took down. Webarchive.com, that we can find. If it was ever on the internet, we can find it. It's there forever.
And I mean, we got that quantum computing coming with the AI. What are your thoughts on quantum? Actually, now that's kind of
on quantum computing.
Yeah, and quantum everything. Is it going to crack crypto?
Yeah, with quantum computing, the main thing that you guys should be worried about, like in the beginning, is that you're going to have the ability to crack every password that's ever existed. Meaning, like people alive and dead, every single time they look at some creepy website, all of it's going to come out. Every single illicit financial transaction, we're going to find out in the next 10 years that all of our heroes growing up, all the horrible shit they ever did, because all of it's going to be exposed. Once quantum computing gets into the wrong hands, they're going to sit there and crack you're going to find out that The Rock looked at porn on this day and cheated on his wife on this day. And all these people we look up to are going to be just destroyed. That's why I'm saying right now, when I was in the military, I looked at porn. I'm going to say it right. I'm going to say it out in the open right now. I've had sex with multiple women before I was married. I'm going to say it right now on camera so that when you expose me, that you find out like, oh my God, I can't believe you looked at this. And I'm going to say it out right now because I know it's coming. Nothing you've ever done on the internet will ever be a secret. And here's the part that I'm looking forward to more than anything else. If somebody had a YouTube channel where they found YouTube trolls and drug them out of their house and started beating the shit out of them with like a bongo bat and just like spanking them, pulling their pants down and humiliating them, I would pay $2,000 a month to watch that shit. Watching YouTube trolls get the shit kicked out of them, I would watch that. I would do nothing but watch that shit all day. Twitter trolls, and we use the quantum computing, and now we know where you are. I know this is very dangerous. There's extremely deleterious results from this, but you catch these dudes. One time these white supremacists all got together and banned my Twitter account, got rid of my Twitter account after threatening to assault me in prison, like some crazy shit like that. And I fought back, and they got my Twitter account banned. People, I'm just telling you, man, like there's a reason why no one says anything negative to me to my face, but they all have something to say on YouTube and Twitter, all that kind of stuff. When those people start getting caught, I'm gonna be the happiest dude in the world. I'm gonna watch and sit there eating popcorn, just watching my show, whipping a troll's ass. Watch every week. I'm gonna be watching that show.
Well, if you want to fund that, I'd be more than willing to go be the guy.
Deezy a fighter, bro. Like, I mean, this dude knows how to fight for real. So
look, it is a good business idea. I've been trying to pitch it for a while. It's called Only Hands. And you get a group of guys and they go around, they knock out predators, abusive boyfriends, now YouTube trolls, Twitter trolls.
You would have to host that website outside the United States, like in Panama or something like that. I think you could get away with it. Yeah.
Oh, in Russia for sure.
Yeah, you could host it in Russia. Love it. Would subscribe on day one if I could see that. Yeah, 100%.
Hey, Dana White, you want to come on the show? You a goat? Let's make it happen. Let's figure it out.
Dana White, help us set this up, man.
Hey, man, what goals you got for the upcoming year? I know MOA is growing like crazy. Are you going to grow that out, or is that going to be still kind of in a select group?
What I learned from Alex Hormozi is more, better, new. So right now we're doing more and better first. We're putting more content into the Men of Action program, and we're doing better with our, again, if you guys joined MOA, one of your networking coaches graduated from Oxford and the other one just graduated from Harvard this week. Okay. Like the highest level guys that you can possibly imagine. So we're doing more content and better reactions. School is incredible. We're refilming a lot of the content to get it in better quality, etc., better audio, better video. And then new is probably going to be a pivot that we're going to do down the line where we teach people how we built MOA. We're going to go over how you start a company with $1,500 and you build it to an 8-figure company. We're going to go over step by step on how we did this, training a sales team, copywriting, all this kind of stuff. We're going to probably make that down the line another course explaining how we cause this company to become what it is. And that's probably what we're going to do next. In addition, though, I have a few new programs that are coming up. I'm probably going to do a program for wealthy men who are being taken advantage of by women. I'm going to do one specifically for that. That's a big one that we've seen a lot of problems with. And then there's just a few other things, giving yourself permission, stuff like that. But we're probably just going to add that to the MOA brand in the future. And then the other thing is, I would like other people, Tristan's obviously the first one. I would like other people in the program to actually become their own brands, and all of us work together, because I'm the only face of MOA right now. So I would like for other people, very similar to what RSD did back in the day with RSD Todd and RSD Max and RSD Julian and RSD Owen, all that kind of stuff. I would like probably to do something like that with MOA in the future. But yeah, that's the main thing we got coming up.
That's dope. And then one thing I saw that's new is we were talking about social media. We're talking about Instagram. There's social media. They have social media boot camps, right? Where like you can go and get photos, and they show you how to do your thing and all that stuff.
Yeah. A lot of guys are like, yo, man, I'm a plumber. I don't want to fucking take pictures on social media. I'm too cool for that. Whatever. You come to social media boot camp. We literally do all of it for you. You end up with months worth of content very easily. And when you come to immersion, we make you approach 50 women every night. Cold approach to build a social circle.
I can vouch. I did both. I got those good photos. I started getting the good responses, and walking around Vegas every night. Man, that second night was rough, though. I'll be honest. Jarrell, or wherever, shout out Jarrell.
We don't let you sleep either. It's morning. We're shooting. Morning. We're doing photo shoots. Academics during the afternoon. At night, you go out all night. You got to do all your 50 approaches. Yes, we whip your ass. And then on Saturday, it's basketball for 4 hours.
Yeah, I know, dude. I went straight from hanging out with Fresh in Toronto to Vegas, and I guess I got COVID on the plane. And by the end of that week, I didn't even make it to the final night where you go out to Sapphire and have a good time. I was dead. I was in the bedroom. I was like, I cannot do any more of this shit. No, it was a great time. And so Fresh, Deezy, I don't know if you have anything else you want to ask Micheal about, or we went through a lot here, man. Damn.
Bro, I wanna ask Micheal, did you end up getting sick from this super spreader?
I don't think I did. It's interesting. I don't remember. Maybe I think Ashkan told me that some of the guys did get sick, but I don't remember that happening. I did get sick from AVN. I went to this AVN party, and there was just all these porn stars around. I was there with Lily Phillips. I know she's the girl who had sex with like 100. I was there on a date, and Lily Phillips was there, and she was sitting and hanging out with us. But we all got, like, a bunch of us got COVID or got the flu from that. I'm pretty sure it was Courtney Taylor who gave me the flu, the porn star. I'm pretty sure she's the one who gave me the flu. But yeah, I was just there. I was there to make actually a funny video, trying to, because I was interviewing these girls who work at the Bunny Ranch, and I was asking them, do you have guys who pay you for sex who think that they're good with women? She's like, all the time. So the point I was trying to make is, watching porn and paying women for sex makes you terrible with women. That was the whole reason why I was there, is to make a video about that.
All right, man. Well, unless, I don't know, Deezy, if you have anything that you'd like to ask Micheal. If not,
no, man, we appreciate you coming on. We're trying to keep this train going, and we're constantly trying to bring on amazing people, the goats in their own right, and you're one of those people. So we appreciate you, and hopefully you could help us continue to bring on amazing people. We're looking forward to where we go in the future.
I want to do one more vouch. And some people may be watching and be like, "Oh, these guys are just buttering up Micheal." Blah, blah. No. Listen. When I signed up, like, for real, when I signed up for MOA, shout out Tristan. He's been on the show. You can reach out to him as well if you're interested out there, people. When I signed up, Tristan was my guy, and he was like, doing the whatever. You got to do the sales. I get it, and he was like, well, what's been an obstacle for you in the past about yada yada? I'm like, well, I've done other programs, and I haven't met, like, sometimes it's not, you don't meet the guy. Like, you meet some, like, underling who they've trained, and then the guy just shows up for 5 minutes and they peace out. I'm not going to name any programs out there, but and to your credit, you hopped on the call that I was on. You're like, what's up, dude? What do you want? I was like, oh shit. And then I was like, okay, cool. And then did the program. This entire time you've been on every call. You stick around for like 2 hours.
Yeah, Tristan says that all the time. It's like, dude, it's so weird. You actually show up for your own calls. It's so funny. Yeah, no, and I have friends of mine. I'm good friends with them, and they teach 1 hour a month. And I'm like, how the fuck are you running a program like that? No, dude, I do probably 19 hours of content a week. Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of, if you're just thinking about value, I mean, it's by all means, like, so I just got to say that.
Oh, we're going to wear you out. We're going to wear you out. Yeah, for sure. We're going to beat. I treat it like, I was very much like what boot camp was like for me in the military. That's how I created the course.
Yeah. And also, like, it is called the Men of Action program. So if you're not ready to take action, don't join it. All right. If you just want to get told that you're a good boy and, the world sucks and golly, then the Men of Action program is not for you. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I just want to let you know, I'm not enough. None of you are enough. I don't give a fuck who told you you're enough. You're not enough. If you sit there and stay on your mom's couch, you play video games and you masturbate and you get fat, someone will take your job and someone will fuck your girl. That is the truth. That is always going to be the truth. No matter what special snowflake, fairy tale, Disney shit you've been told, you are a man, you have a burden of performance. If anyone in your life is not telling you that you have a burden of performance, you need to get them out of your life. You need to come join us because we're going to remind you every day you have a burden of performance. Every day. And the skill we teach you is to do shit you don't want to do, even when you don't want to do it, and you still do it. That's the skill we're going to teach you in this program, is to toughen you up. And that's, I mean, I just cannot express this enough to you. You are, as a man, no one is going to come save you. No one. You're how sad. Oh my God, Sally broke up with me. She cheated on me. No one's going to give you vagina because you got cheated on. No one feels sorry for you. No one cares. No one woke up this morning saying, I hope you make $1 million and get your dick wet. No one cares about you. No one. And if you're ready to take on that responsibility, saying my future and my destiny is in my own hands, I have the agency to do this, and I have a burden of performance, and it's not fair, and I'm fucking okay with the fact that it's not fair, come join us. Come join us. If you want to sit there and live in sedation and just believe in bullshit that you see, go watch Derek Jackson, Chris GQ Perry, Justin Baldoni. Like, sometimes I forget why I'm doing this, and then I watched like Derek Jackson videos last night, like sitting there telling, it's not that women are too picky, and I was like, oh my God, bro, you're actually saying this as a heterosexual man? That's nuts. When I watch these guys say that, Will Hitchens, these guys, and then I see that these guys have hundreds of thousands of views, I'm reminded why I have to go to work every day.
Well, maybe Baldoni's going to come to the red pill. You know what I'm saying? Like, after what that guy's been going through.
As soon as a man labels himself as a male feminist, a clock starts ticking. A timer starts ticking down before his sexual assault charges. A clock starts. He is going to be hemmed up for, as soon as he says he's a male ally, get ready. It's a few moments before. Jonah Hill, male feminist. Justin Baldoni, male feminist. Just wait. Chris GQ Perry some scandal is going to find him. All of them. The reason why they became panderers to women is because they don't know how to talk to women. And it's just a matter of time before they get themselves in trouble.
All right. Well, listen, Michael, cheers to you.
Appreciate it, guys.
You're a goat.
Cheers, bro.
This has been great. Thank you
coming
so
on.
much for being so generous with your time.
Of course.
For everybody out there, Michael Sartain, the man, the myth, the legend, Men of Action. We'll put all the show notes in the show notes. We'll put all the links and everything, for anybody who's interested in learning more about everything that he's got going on. Check out his Instagram.
ZiLLY, you asked a question before. For those of you who've come on and you're like, hey, I just can't take Men of Action right now. We have a $5 group, $5 per month group. Go to school.com/Men of Action Forum. Just look up at the Men of Action Forum. It's $5 a month, or it's $47 a year. So it's like $3.90 a year. You get our archives of previous calls. You get all of our book list. You get one free call a month with me. There's a bunch of stuff, and there's 2,500 guys in the group right now. If you guys want to go do that, you can. If you're just like, you're not ready to join MOA, I understand it's a big commitment because I am going to beat the shit out of you. So you got to get ready for that mentally. If you want to do the MOA forum first, I more than invite you to do so. I think it'll be very worthwhile, but it is $5 a month because we had to get the riffraff out. There were too many people in there not doing shit. So that's the way it works.
Gentlemen, stop buying the feet pics of the chick, your friend that doesn't want to have anything to do with you. All right. Instead, spend it on the forum and see how you feel. So again,
Drink
Michael,
one less beer a month. That's all it is.
Oh, we didn't even talk about alcohol, Michael.
Yeah.
He makes me. I feel guilty every time I even pick up a freaking have a whiskey at the end, once a week or something.
Yeah.
But, no, for real, man. Thank you so much. This has been amazing, and I hope everybody out there checks out Men of Action. Fresh. Before we head out today, what do the goats out there, or the future goats out there, need to do?
I got to like, subscribe, hit the bell, drop a comment, and send it to everybody. Just send it to everybody.